Jabulile, the situation has escalated there, hasn't it?
That's right, Sito. Community members are visibly angry, confronting the police for trying to maintain stability in the area.
Now, what we are supposed to be doing now is to call the management of the mall to come outside and explain what are they doing about this.
Exactly.
We're closing here.
Some police officers have moved their vehicles further from the mall. Residents are trying to back cars and picking up rocks to block the roads. The situation remains tense. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News, reporting live from Soweto.
Meanwhile, the South African National Taxi Council is calling on governments to implement regulations to curb the influx of unregulated e-hailing operators. President Cyril Ramaphosa signed the amendments to the National Land Transport Act into law a year ago. Council spokesperson Matsikindi Phala says lack of regulation in the e-hailing industry creates an unsafe environment for commuters.
There has been a disturbing rise in reports of hijackings, abductions, sexual harassment and other violent crimes, all linked to the unchecked operation of e-hailing services under the current legal loopholes.
The deputy chairperson of the South African Metered Taxi and E-Hailing Association, Sibongiseni Shange, says the people who operate in the sector are not monitored by anyone.
The regulations has not been implemented as yet. Hence, the app companies have been getting away with murder by frustrating the industry, adding as many cars as they want, because of they're not accountable to anything. They're not accountable to the people who are dying on a daily basis.
Crime Intelligence Chief Financial Officer Philani Lushaba remains a focal point of several ongoing investigations in the embattled unit. Lushaba appeared in the Pretoria Regional Court yesterday on two separate matters. One relates to fraud and corruption over the appointment of Dineo Mukwele into a highly specialized division within crime intelligence, despite her not having the necessary skills or qualifications. The other case relates to defeating the ends of justice, corruption and perjury in 2022 when Lushaba lied about his state laptop, phone and firearm being stolen during a burglary. It later emerged that a sex worker stole the items following a party at his home, Oren Singh reports.
Crime Intelligence Chief Financial Officer Philani Lushaba appeared alongside Eugene Pitout, Glenn Hudson and Johnny Mogashwa, all members within Crime Intelligence. They handed themselves over to officials from the Investigative Directorate Against Corruption in June after it emerged they had tried to cover up an incident in which Lushaba's state laptop, phone and firearm were stolen by a sex worker at his home in 2022. The items were traced back to the sex worker and recovered, with Lushaba opening a case of house burglary, essentially lying under oath, resulting in an IDAX probe into the matter. They faced 10 counts of corruption, defeating the ends of justice and perjury. The matter was postponed to October for a trial date. Arun Singh, Eyewitness News.
And lawyers for former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro have asked the Supreme Courts for an acquittal in a trial where he's accused of attempting a coup. Bolsonaro's lawyers argued in court yesterday that the former head of state is innocent of all charges and that an absolute lack of evidence was presented during the trial, which began in May. Bolsonaro and 7 others are accused of attempting to hold power despite his 2022 defeat in the elections to Brazil's current leader Lula da Silva. In 2023, a week after Lula's inauguration, thousands of Bolsonaro supporters stormed government buildings in Brasilia, alleging election fraud and calling on the military to intervene. Bolsonaro, who faces up to 40 years in prison if found guilty, led the country from 2019 to 2022, and he's maintained his innocence for months. Gold is trading at $3,356.26 an ounce. The rand is at 17.53 to the dollar, 23.80 to the pound, 20.52 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.95 a barrel.
And in the traffic, as you heard in Eyewitness News, several roads within the Pimville Maponya Mall area remains closed after traffic. This is due to community members calling for a shutdown of the mall. While traveling on the Golden Highway, this is in the Devland area, we've got delays between the N1 and Union Avenue. There's also queuing traffic on the M1 North between Boyson's Road and Carr Street.
A fine day in store for Gauteng today. The temperatures will peak at highs of 24 degrees. The developing story in EWN this hour. Residents in Soweto have blocked blocked roads with rocks near Maponya Mall after an e-hailing driver was killed there last night.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Gauteng's greatest awards with 702 and Yoko. Let's celebrate excellence, one vote at a time. Go to primediaplus.com now to vote for the finalist that makes Gauteng feel like home.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 9 o'clock, Dumelang. Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. It's great to be in your company. Thank you for joining us here on 702. I hope your morning is going well so far. The 702 open line starts right now on 011-883-0702. That's the number to dial. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. You can also post your comments on YouTube if you're watching us on the 702 YouTube page. What did the chief of the South African National Defence Force do? He met this week with Iran's army commander, his counterpart, and they both agreed that the two countries shared a common goal of fighting, and I quote here, the global arrogance and aggressive colonial approaches, end quote. So they were basically, during that meeting, slamming Washington and Tel Aviv. I mean, this is the head of the military. This is the chief of the military. He also said during his visit to Iran that his visit carries a political message from South Africa. Iranian state media reported that General Ruzani Maponya has pledged military and political alignment with the Iranians, and the argument now is this is worsening the tensions between us and the US. Our relationship is so fragile right now. The last thing you need is to put that relationship into further risk. So General Maponya conveyed his greetings from South Africa, from President Cyril Ramaphosa and the Defense Minister, and affirmed that, and I quote here, the Republic of South Africa and the Islamic Republic of Iran have common goals. We always stand alongside the oppressed and defenseless people of the world, end quote. Do you think that he overstepped? I mean, I do think that he was wrong to discuss matters beyond defense. I mean, he dabbled in politics and he should have known better. He spoke about Israeli actions in Gaza. He spoke about the ICJ case. You know, matters of South Africa's foreign policy and international relations are the sole prerogative of the President and DERCO, the Department of International Relations. And that's why now you've got the Minister of Defense who has released a statement distancing herself from the remarks of the chief of the SANDF. You've got the department, in fact, the minister calls those comments that General Maponya made as unfortunate. You've got the Department of International Relations as well, distancing itself. Here's the spokesperson, Crispin Peary.
Any statements made by an individual or department other than those responsible for foreign policy should not be misrepresented as the official position of the South African government. The remarks attributed to General Maponya, therefore, do not represent the government's official foreign policy stance. In response to this matter, Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Mr. Ronald Lamola, will be seeking further clarification.
So there is clarification that will be sought by the Minister of International Relations, the Minister of Defense as well. And Motshekga says she wants some answers. And I wonder where you stand on this one. First of all, let me say this. Our government needs to decide what its messaging is, even at the global stage, because there is no coherence with our foreign policy. Well, at least from some observations. We have a dangerous bill that is trying to compel the U.S. government to review its relations with South Africa that's making its way through the U.S.'s legislature. We have a 30% tariffs that are facing us. There's now this flawed human rights report by the U.S. Department of State on South Africa's human rights record. This is not the time to worsen the tensions that already exist between South Africa and the U.S. But I would argue, and I've argued before, that this is also not the time to capitulate and somehow be at the mercy of the Americans, where we must do whatever they want and they must be choosing friends for us. We're a sovereign state that must decide who its friends are. America may not like that. France may not like that. Angola may not like that. Any other country may not like that. The same way that when they associate themselves as sovereign countries with other countries, we may have a view about it, but we respect that decision because that's a sovereign state that's taken that decision. So, on the one hand, I really hope we're not getting to a point where we are trying to appease the US so much that they're going to end up choosing who must our ambassador be, who must our friends be, whether we must be in BRICS or not, where they're trying to even leverage during negotiations and use domestic policy issues to try and push their agenda. I hope we're not getting up to that stage. But I also think that we need a coherent foreign policy in government. You cannot have one Minister of International Relations saying this, and then you've got the Minister of Trade and Industry trying to negotiate with the Americans around the tariffs, and the issue of our association with Iran has been a contentious one, and you've got the chief of the SANDF going out and making political statements like how he has in Iran. How is that helping us? What is the collective attempt here from the government side in as far as our relations with the US are concerned? And why is that not across the board? Because clearly there are differences here in our foreign policy. I'm interested in your thoughts about what the chief of the SANDF has said in Iran. America regards Iran as a sponsor of terror. And they regard Iran as a danger to global peace and security. Recently, America even attacked Iran's nuclear facilities. We spoke about that. What do you think this association means about our relations with the US? And why do you think, and are you concerned at all about the Defense Department and the international relations jumping quickly to distance themselves? Because I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with our SANDF chief meeting with his counterpart in Iran. I don't think there's anything wrong with that because Iran has an embassy here. We have relations with Iran. So in any other country, if we have relations, for instance, we have relations with Russia. We've done military exercises with them, even though the Americans didn't like it. We have relations with China. We've done military exercises with them, even though America didn't like it. So, of course, there's going to be countries that don't like our positioning and the friends that we have. I don't think that's much of an issue. For me, the issue is this chief of the SANDF dabbled in politics. That is the prerogative of the president and the International Relations Department. What do you think? 011-883-0702. I'm also interested in what's happening at Maponya Mall in Soweto. I saw now that following what happened yesterday with the killing of an e-hailing driver, you've got community members now that are refusing workers at Maponya Mall from entering the workplace. They in part are blaming that center management for the ongoing violence. You've got taxi drivers as well this morning being prevented from operating in the Maponya Mall area, because communities are saying, you guys have been fighting these e-hailing drivers. That's why we've seen this violence escalate. Are you in and around that area? What have you observed? What are the issues on the ground? But I'm also interested broadly, because I think over the last 2 years or so, whenever I've been in an Uber, I have not heard concerns. For instance, if I go to the Gautrain, Gautrain Center, Gautrain station, normally back in the day, like 2 years ago, I know that there would be Uber drivers who are concerned about operating in that area. That's no longer the case, at least from what I have seen. I've not heard any Uber drivers I've used complain about that, but I know that that has still become a concern, the harassment that they've been getting and taking from taxi drivers. What have you observed? Maybe you are an Uber driver, maybe you're someone who uses e-hailing. Has this harassment continued? Because for some reason I thought it had stabilized at some point. Please share your experiences with us. At 10 o'clock, we're going to do the Hanging Out feature, and today I'm hanging out with Dr Malusi Gigaba. This is one person who was at some point touted as the future president of this country, and stuff happened, and some people were changing their perceptions about him. But over the years, he has worn so many hats, from student leader, he was a youth activist, to cabinet minister, member of parliament, now the chairperson of the Joint Committee on Defense. He's also been involved, of course, in controversies, and I wonder how that has shaped the leader that he is today and the leader he wants to be, and what are the lessons for him, or any regrets, if at all. So he recently graduated with a PhD in business administration. So he's now a doctor of philosophy in public administration. So he's going to be hanging out with us between 10 and 11 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, we do the Thursday dialogue. Today we'll be discussing a new study by the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection, which suggests that the ANC is likely to only retain the majority in 2 provinces after the 2029 general elections. I mean, we've been having a conversation about the decline of the ANC and the potential, or some people describe it as the imminent end of the ANC dominance for so long now. Probably like from 15 years ago, I was reading opinion pieces about this, or 10 years ago, I was watching interviews about the so-called imminent implosion of the ANC. But it increasingly appears like the prophecy about the liberation movements on the continent is being fulfilled. I mean, we've had our share here with the ANC getting about a 40% support in last year's elections. And I think that's been a clear sign, at least to me, that liberation movements can leverage their struggle credentials forever. At some point, that will eventually run out. So is this the time when that prophecy comes true for the ANC? And how much of this decline is due to voter dissatisfaction with governance versus broader shifts in societal sentiments like generational change and the end of liberation politics? And I wonder if the GNU actually accelerates or slows the pace of the ANC decline. And I wonder what your thoughts are. We're going to talk about that on our Thursday dialogue at 11 o'clock. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Hi, Clement. I find it quite strange that we are surprised by this chief of the South African National Defence Force meeting with Iran. For the longest time in this country, we don't have leadership. We don't have leadership at all, and I think it's quite sad. I mean, when your chief of the military goes and goes to another country and makes those particular pronouncements, especially in this kind of environment with the United States, it tells you that the center is not holding. And we really have to look at the president here. We really have to look at the president. I think it's high time that we agree as South Africans that we are leaderless and there's no direction in terms of policy and in terms of leadership coming through from the presidency. Thank you very much. It's Banele here from Fourways.
Good morning, Clemmy. Floris here from the Western Cape, man. I know this is your best day of the week and your favorite month, but boy, oh boy, I think this general needs to hang his head in shame, and he needs to retire How on earth? We cannot even defend ourselves, our porous borders, and then he wants to be in alignment with Iran? No, this guy needs to be called into the office and get a good verbal hiding and a firing right there. Have a good show. Bye-bye.
Yeah, look, I don't know, like when do SNDF chiefs just like go on trips without the approval of, I don't know, say the minister or someone higher up? I wonder. Maybe we should bring in the Department of Defense here, because I would imagine if of course the US has raised concerns about our association with Iran. So if the chief of the SANDF is going there, I would imagine that there are some issues that are discussed. Okay, what are you going to say there? Please be careful not to agitate, because you know how the US feels about our relations with Iran. Make sure that you don't make political statements, for instance. So isn't that really what our approach then should be? Onika Kwakwa is the spokesperson for the Defense Ministry, joining us on the line. Onika, thank you so much for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to the listeners.
Yeah, so first of all, I see the statement from the defense minister is that the political statements were unfortunate. She's distancing herself from that statement. But why was the SANDF chief in Iran? Did the minister know about this trip?
Yes, the minister knew about the trip. As you know, that we have bilateral diplomatic relations, defense relations rather, with Iran. And the chief was invited last year to come and join the leadership there and the defense force of Iran, and the trip was only made possible this week. So she was aware, and unfortunately the statements really were unfortunate, as we have said in the statement.
Was there no conversation with the minister before he left that, hey, be careful because we're operating in uncharted territory here, where the US is watching every single move we make, especially in as far as our association with Iran is concerned? I mean, weren't there warnings before he left? Is there a relationship like that he enjoys with the minister? Because it doesn't look like they even get along.
They get along very well. So the minister, when she approves the trip of the general, they do have engagements in terms of what will then be our view as the defense force and how do we continue to strengthen the bilaterals. The chief also will have a pack that will normally prepare from the unit called the Defense International. And this will be the pack that will then talk about the historical relations that we have with the particular country that we are visiting, in this case Iran, and then what will then be the areas of focus. And normally the areas of focus will be informed by the cooperation that we have, which is the MOU that was signed back in 2016.
What has he said? How has he explained these comments so far? Didn't the minister get on a call with him?
Yes, the minister is going to have a meeting today with the chief. He has already returned last night. They could not really engage on a call, but the minister did indicate that she would love to have a meeting as urgent as possible, and the meeting is going to take place today. And I think that is where the general, of course, will need to really explain what really has informed him getting into the terrain of foreign policy, which is really the purview of the president and Dirk, as we have said in our statement.
The reason I was asking, Onika, whether the statement I made that it looks like the two don't even get along, wasn't the SANDF chief, this same person, the one who defied the minister's direct order to reinstate a wrongfully dismissed colonel?
That discussion is still going to take place between the minister and the chief, but that does not really talk about how they relate. Remember, when you relate with your colleague, you don't have to agree on everything, but also when you relate with your colleague, there are issues that you need to continue to engage on to find each other. So, but I can confirm to you, Clement, that the minister and the general, they really have cordial working relations. They work very well. They engage on a regular basis on issues of defense.
I get that, but if you're not going to respect your superior when she issued an instruction, that doesn't suggest a great working relationship. So 6 months after Minister Motshekga ordered this chief of the SANDF to reinstate this wrongfully dismissed SA Air Force colonel, that directive remains ignored. And this person has not really explained why he's not following up on the minister's directives. What does that tell us?
Like I said, Clement, it has nothing to do with the how the minister and the general relate. This is an engagement that the minister is still going to have with the general on how they find each other on this particular point. And I don't think that it really is about them relating as colleagues.
Will action be considered here to be taken, some disciplinary action against the chief based on the comments that were made in Iran, the political comments to be precise?
I will not want to preempt action. What I can confirm and commit is that the minister is going to engage with the chief today, and the engagements then will be followed by whatever decision that the minister is going to take. That will also be done in consultation with the president, because the president is the one that appoints the chief of the SANDF.
All right. Onika Kwakwa, thank you so much for making time for us. She's a defense ministry spokesperson. I'm not convinced that they actually get along. There are actually a number of stories I've heard about the two of them. I don't think that he even respects her as the minister. For instance, if the minister directs you and says, here's investigation that's been done, this person who was dismissed was wrongfully dismissed, please can you correct this? 6 months. You're not responding to the minister? You're just ignoring her? I don't know. That doesn't suggest to me like you respect your authority. You can disagree. Maybe write a letter and say, hey, I actually think that the report is flawed. Let's look at this. You ignore a directive like that? It's 27 after 9.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
John, you are calling us from Soweto. Good morning. What are your thoughts?
Morning, Clement. Actually laughing because I was thinking, this general, what is he been smoking? Because, we were clobbered there by the M23. And then we couldn't even bring our soldiers home. And here at home, we can't defend our borders. We can't deal with the Zamazamas. How on earth, and we don't have equipment, how are you going to take on America and Israel?
We've just pledged military support and alignment.
It's crazy, man. What sort of lies like America? They must shut up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, John, it's it. Thank you for your call. Let's go to Karabo in Waltevreden Park. Karabo, what are your thoughts about what's been your experience with e-hailing drivers?
Mr. Clement, how are you, sir?
Sure, man. Go ahead.
Right. I had an incident about a week ago, Wednesday or Thursday, with the MISTRA trials in Sundown, outside Gauteng. I picked up a client from Waltevreden to Sundown. As soon as I dropped a client, I got a request. I went to my destination, picked up a client, and as soon as the client jumped into the car, I was stopped by two old men. These men are old enough to be my fathers. And the other one started taking pictures of my disc, and I was forced to then drop the client, to tell the client to just get out of the car. And I was called outside by one of them, and then he told me that, you know what, I've committed a serious offense. I said, what have I done? Because you and I are both in the same industry, and this is a client's choice, right, of what kind of service they want. And then they just carried on, and then the other one came and says, no, I need to pay like 2.5. I need to pay them 2.5.
2.5 for what?
For the offense that I've created, for the offense that I've committed. And I said, I didn't commit any offense. And by the way, I came here because of the client requested my services. And I don't usually operate that side. And I even went as far as apologizing to say, guys, look, this is not my area.
Yeah.
I don't even operate from this side. So please forgive me, because I didn't know that I cannot load clients or transport clients from this route. And I don't know, we understand that you're sorry, but then you need to pay 2.5. And even when they started saying I must follow one of their drivers, and I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And I just get into the car and just drove off.
Yeah. Sure.
This is very disheartening. I'm commenting on this as it's my first time on 702. I'm commenting on this because of what happened as well last night, because I was listening to the news.
Yeah, Karabo, it's actually quite devastating. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. And I mean, I've got lots of calls as well that I'll get to after the headlines. Tabang, Tebogo, in Reimsach, Tebogo, in Santin, I see you guys. I'll start with you after the headlines. It really seems like the tensions are still high. And I must say, I have been under the impression that it's not as bad as it used to be. I know 2 years ago, I used to have that conversation with Uber drivers, e-hailing drivers, especially when I would go to like one of the Gautrain stations. If I'm getting off there, I'm being dropped off there, or I need to get an Uber from there. But from what I'm seeing from some of your messages, this has been an issue. Even over the last 2 years, things haven't subsided. Please share your experiences with us. It's 9:31. Sviso, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Gauteng Transport MEC Kidibone Diale-Tlabela says people are using a long-running feud between the taxi industry and e-hailing drivers to commit crimes. 4 men killed an e-hailing driver and torched 2 vehicles outside Maponya Mall in Soweto last night. Another operator and an onlooker were injured after being shot. Diale-Tlabela says the attacks are barbaric. Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations of police corruption will meet for the second time today to finalise the terms of reference that will guide its investigation. Political parties had until Friday last week to make their recommendations on what should be included in the terms of reference before Parliament starts its investigation allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. And the Electoral Commission says perfecting the political funding arena is still a work in progress, but it won't be drawn on whether the recently raised limits for declaring private donations is sufficient. Addressing the concerns of civil society and political parties in Cape Town, the Commission says it is for Parliament to grapple with these matters. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, travelling within the Pimville and Maponya Mall area, Chris Honey Road has been closed off to traffic. This is between Klipsville Road and Mokwena Street. This is due to that protest where community members are saying they need or they want for the Maponya Mall to be closed. This is due to the unrest that followed yesterday with the violence between e-hailing drivers and taxi operators. While travelling in Eldorado Park, we've got an accident reported along the N12 West. It happened before Klipsville Road. Delays coming out of Golden Highway and travelling in the East Edenville. We've got delays on the N12 West between Edenville Road and the Kirulis interchange. And in Bramley, roadworks along the M1 South, right near Corlett Drive. Delays coming out of Grayston Drive. I'll have your next traffic update at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
Are you on the road this morning? Are you driving, given the incident that played itself out in Maponya Mall yesterday in Soweto?
I'm scared of my life. I'm going home to sleep now. I did pass in Maponya last night. I saw the incident.
You saw the incident?
Yeah, I saw it. I was on the trip going from Albertine to Soweto. So I passed there, I saw it.
Were you driving there while it was happening, or did you drive there after it had happened?
It was happening by then when I passed.
What did you see, Veli? What did you witness?
I heard the gunshots, and when I come back, I just saw some of the cars on flames.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
This September, Joburg Theatre brings you a powerful mix of drama, music, and dance. Dancing the Death Drill, adapted from Fred Khumalo's acclaimed novel, tells the tale of Pito Mutaung, a South African soldier forever changed by the tragic sinking of the SS Mendi. The cast features Kwenzo Ngobo, Tuli Tabete, and Clint Brink, with choreography by Luyanda Sidia and original music by Msaki. This is a story of love, loss, and remembrance. Catch it from 9 to 28 September 2025 on the Mandela stage at Joburg Theatre. Dancing the Death Drill, a moment in history brought to life. Book now at joburgtheatre.com.
Hi, I'm Dion Free. Winning requires audacity. That's why I joined African Bank and opened a 60-month fixed-term investment account. I'm scoring 12.8% interest at expiry on my investment. How cool is that? You too can join the bank that backs you to grow your money. Pop into a branch near you or visit africanbank.co.za. African Bank. Audacity to believe. African Bank is a licensed financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Meet the new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7, re-engineered to be our thinnest and lightest foldable yet. Move with confidence, powered by an ultra-sleek, ultra-slim design that adapts wherever life takes you. Open your world to expansive screens, seamlessly crafted for work and play. It's innovation that fits your pocket. Upgrade to the new Galaxy Z Fold 7 and get double the storage on us. Hurry, offer ends 31 August. T's and C's apply.
Unfold extraordinary with the brand new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 5G 512 gig. Get it on a 6 gig Red Core plan from 1,749 per month over 36 months and double your storage with Vodacom, Mzansi's winning 5G network. Enhance your deal. Add 149 extra per month and get the Galaxy Watch 8 eSIM and Galaxy Buds 3. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
Franchise your future with the vision to invest, the mindset to follow a proven system, and the drive to grow something of your own. Meet the minds behind smart investments and prove franchise success on Franchise Your Future with Relebohile Mabocha, brought to you by Cash Converters on 702. Plus, you could win 10,000 Rand to kickstart your journey to franchise your future. Hit primemediaplus.com now. Then every Tuesday, from 1 p.m. catch Franchise Your Future on afternoons with Relebohile Mabocha, brought to you by Cash Converters. Your money, your momentum. On 702, let's walk the talk.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
23 minutes before 10 o'clock. Tabang, you're calling from Kempton Park. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. How are you doing?
Sure, man. Go ahead.
Good. Clement, my work experience, I'm sorry for the gentleman that died. That passed away yesterday. It's very unfortunate. I've done my rounds around Maponya Mall, actually dropping off because I used to be an Uber driver myself. And I was once chased away by this other gentleman. I said to them, well, you impounding my car. Let me go and get money. I cooperated. And as they thought I was not resisting, I drove away. And it's very sad. And the one in Gautrain station outside Sandton, I was only advised later on that when you're dropping off or picking up, or more especially when you're dropping off, don't drop off people along that Gautrain station outside. Or if you're picking up and the person is not inside Gautrain station, go further down by Mercedes. I'm not sure whether if there are a lot of people are familiar with Mercedes. At one stage, I drove away with one of the meter taxi guys that wanted to take my key. I drove away literally towards facing, I think it's Greyston Drive by McDonald's.
Sure, yeah, Tabang. Yeah, this is quite crazy. Thank you for your call. Tabogo, you are in Reimsach. Good morning.
Morning, Clement.
Sure.
Sure. So, as with me, I'm an e-hailing owner. I've got about 5 cars on the road.
Yeah.
The experience, I've never been on the road before. I just bought the cars and got the drivers. But the things that they're telling me, it's terrifying. The guys, from time to time, I need to pay money. My car, one of my cars has been pounded by the taxi drivers or taxi owners. The guys have to deal with, they're working under serious, terrifying conditions. They have to deal with the hijackers. They have to deal with, even clients. Some of the customers, especially, unfortunately, this is how it is. Some female customers, some of them they don't want to pay, and they'll tell them that if you force me to pay, I'm going to open a case against you. Remember, I've got your details. That you wanted to sexually harass me, so let me go. Those are some of the things that the guys have to deal with. And, also on the other side, the e-hailing companies, they take in so much commission from the guys. The guys, it just, I don't know, I don't see this business going anywhere, honestly. Even myself, I've been an owner for about 3 months now, bought 5 cars at the go, and I honestly regret because, it's just difficult. It's a difficult business to be in. I can imagine what the guys are going through today, being on the road after what happened last night. And I've been trying to talk to my drivers. and they just scared. And I told them, you know what, take a day off today, relax, don't go on the road. But yeah, every time I see some, of course, I track my cars all day, all night. If I see my car in the township, Clement, I panic. I always call them every minute. Are you okay? Are you safe? I panic because I know it's so difficult and dangerous in the township, more especially.
Oh, what is this turning us into? Tabuche and Remsach, thank you for sharing your experience. And Zapo on Twitter says, Clement and the listeners, what we are witnessing are signs of a state that is heading towards failure. If taxi drivers are taking matters into their own hands, and you've got Operation Tudula there as well, doing their own thing, all because the state is failing to do its job, we are in hell. That's what Ntsapo is saying there. And I wonder if you think there is political will here to deal decisively with this. How is it that we still haven't found a solution here when so many people, I mean, do you remember, like, was it 5 years or 4 years or maybe even longer than that, when we were telling stories of Uber or e-hailing drivers that were being brutally murdered, left in their cars, some were burned in their cars. Remember those stories? There was a time at the height of these attacks. And to this day, we still don't have a solution to that. And I know some people are blaming the center management. What have you done? How have you resolved this? Yeah. Nicola, you are in River Club. Good morning.
Morning. Hi. Yes, it is really concerning hearing the various accounts from various stakeholders in the system. So I'm a resident. I'm a e-hailing customer, and I'm also a public transport system customer. And I'm not a private taxi service customer in South Africa. I think once in my entire life have I used that in the days before e-hailing was introduced. I'm in Johannesburg. I've traveled nationally frequently. And I've experienced a situation where I have been physically confronted and threatened by private taxi drivers after hours, late in the evening, in specific occasions at Sandton, outside the Gautrain station, and also in Rosebank. And on the second or third occasion when I was confronted and threatened physically by and my luggage removed from a vehicle, it being an e-hailing vehicle that was prevented from stopping close to the curb where I needed to actually embark on that vehicle because I had a physical limitation. When my luggage being removed from that vehicle, yes. I actually called on the security services of Gautrain to assist me. I was ignored. I then called Sandton Central services to assist me because they happened to be nearby. That took a while. And that was after I walked then to another part of the precinct late at night to actually find these people, Sandton Central Precinct. And then on another occasion, I reported it to JMPD, Johannesburg Traffic Management Department.
And nothing
happened to be doing something did happen. So Johannesburg Traffic Management Department representatives did want to come to investigate the situation at scene and arrest the perpetrators of the illegal activity. They have had reports of this activity ongoing for some time. But they cannot take action without reports being registered or incidents being registered as illegal incidents at South African Police Services.
Oh, yeah. So now you must go to the SAPS to register. And how many of us even have time to do that? Like when you are caught in a situation like that. Yeah, it gets tricky. Nicola in River Club, thank you for sharing your experience with us.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Sizwe, you're calling from Pretoria. What do you want to say about the chief of the SANDF?
Clement.
Hey, Tada.
I want to ask you a question.
We have been singing, we've got relationship with Russia, China, and Iran. The chief of SANDF did nothing wrong. He carried just what we have been saying here. We have already taken our stance against. We don't care about America doesn't like Iran. And that the chief of SANDF did not say anything. It's what actually even the president said. Our stance. Our stance is well known to America with regard to Iran. And is the wrong thing there? Is not wrong, but it was said by someone, not the international relation, Lamola. Ne? So there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing. It's no. We are in collaboration with Russia, China, and all those countries that are anti-Americans. Ne? So now the Minister of Defense, Mateja, must back off. He can't even answer the million of the soldiers from DRC. He's running away. He couldn't appear in Parliament. Instead, he went to Eastern Cape and for something else, for whatsoever Mandela Day. So he must back off. No report or no talk that is required by her. She's running away from his 8 million payment of soldiers who were deployed in DRC and some of our comrades died.
Yeah, Caesar.
So now, you want to ask me a question?
Caesar, yes, I do. So I think there's not a lot of a disagreement with you about the relations that South Africa has with Iran. Whether people agree or disagree with that, South Africa does have relations with Iran. That's why the Iranian embassy is here, right? So that's a thing. So nobody says, I'm not, at least myself, I'm not saying that the SANDF chief shouldn't have gone there. We do military exercises. We've got diplomatic relations with other countries that are seen as anti-West. We've got relations with Russia even when America hates it. My problem here is this SANDF chief made political statements. Any other chief, when you are a chief of the SANDF, you are limited to issues of defense, right? When you get there and you start making statements like, my visit here also carries a political message from South Africa, and you start making pledges. No. Now that is a prerogative of our president and the Department of International Relations. So the chief of the SANDF should have also been aware when he's crossing the line.
Okay, can I answer you there? Do you know before the Minister of Defense go to any country, he gets authority for going there? To what he has discussed there was noted. What was the question, by the way? Clement, remind me.
Maybe it's not a question; it's a statement. I'm saying that my statement is that the SANDF chief shouldn't be dabbling in politics. So of course he can be in Iran. He can do pledge military exercise, whatever. But don't dabble in politics and foreign policy because that's not your forte.
Yes, can I answer you there?
Mm-hmm.
Put the rank aside. I go to Iran. I speak to the journalist in Iran that America is doing 1, 2, 3 in Israel. Take the rank away. Take him as a person, a civilian.
Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that, Caesar.
I go there. Leave to the chief of the defense force. Is his uniform member or what?
He was wearing the uniform though. He was making those comments as the chief of the SANDF, not as a civilian.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's what South Africa has already said. This thing is what we have been singing about all the time. Put the rank aside here.
You can't, Caesar, unfortunately. That doesn't work like that. You don't put the rank aside when you are there in your position and embracing that rank. It's 10 minutes before 10 o'clock.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabota, 1 to 3 p.m.
What are the options that are available to you? Because for me, based on what you're saying, the natural step feels like going under debt counseling and debt review. Unless, of course, you have access to, I know there are people who, when you change jobs, you can access your retirement and then they cover their debt.
That's not really an option for many people, and also it means that you're robbing your future self. So it's really around sitting, honestly, looking at what you're spending your money on, looking at what your income is, and then start with a plan to cut your most expensive debt first.
Natasha Huget-Henschy, a principal consultant at advisory firm NMG Benefits.
702 Afternoons.
With Relebohile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
It's the clarion call for the 26th Standard Bank Joy of Jazz. Choose your days carefully because this time we're going all out as the heavyweight jazz at Lincoln Center with Wynton Marsalis make a triumphant return to the Sandton Convention Center on the 26th and 28th of September 2025, alongside the already star-studded lineup of over 60 world-class acts across 4 stages. On second thoughts, we recommend you buy yourself all 3 days via Ticketmaster. Take me there.
When you empower a woman, you empower a whole nation. Women have a remarkable way of multiplying whatever is placed in their hands. This August, we're celebrating Women's Month with the theme Building Resilient Economies for All. We reflect and honor the courageous women of 1956 who took a stand against the injustices of the past. We also recognize and celebrate all South African women who continue to lead, build, and inspire across every part of our society, from business and education to peace building and beyond. Yes, there is still much to be done. The pursuit to achieving total gender equality and empowerment will continue until every woman is able to enjoy the benefits of a safe and just society. #Rekaufela Basadi. #Women's Month 2025. A message by the National Department of Sport, Arts and Culture.
In a world where traffic is the enemy of progress, one man is in a race against time, through the noise, through the chaos, chasing something no GPS could find.
Accident detected ahead. Expect a 30-minute delay.
Not today, sweetheart. Not today. Write your own story with the Haval H7 from only $6,799 per month. Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
7 minutes before 10 o'clock.
Clement, the situation is such that it doesn't matter now who says what or does what, because those people in America, they've made up their mind. They are hell-bent on frustrating us, embarrassing us, bullying us, and doing all sorts of things simply because of that court case against Israel. They are not going to let go unless we do something about that. We can negotiate with them about the tariffs and whatever, AGOA. They are just going to be taking us on a merry-go-round when they know very well that their intention is to frustrate us and bully us because of that court case. Whatever we do or say now does not matter. They will make up things anyway if we do not say or say anything or do anything. They will make up things and put them up there as fact and expect everybody to believe them. That is how arrogant these people are. It's TK here from Kilani.
Morning, Clement. The reason you don't no longer hear stories from Uber drivers about the safety concerns in suburbs and Gautrain and all these fancy places that I think you go to is because the white center managers in these white areas like Sandton, they put taxi drivers in their place. They don't allow taxi drivers to bully them. In the townships, mall managers, center managers, shopping center managers collude with taxi drivers. They are scared of them. They allow them to do as they please. Thanks, Baba.
Daboho, you are in Midrand. You also want to say something about some more small owners and managers. Good morning.
Morning, Timmy. How are you?
I'm all right. Go ahead.
Very well, sir. Timmy, you know what? I am an Uber driver full-time. and I'm also a fleet owner. I have 2 vehicles that I have under Uber. And to be honest, a lot of people are saying they regret investing in such a business. I'm one of those people as well, but I'm even contemplating, switching and doing something else, because I'm like, if this is how we're going to be working moving forward in this country, it's going to be a difficult thing. Because tell me why we have a lot of people and a lot of requests in the townships, but we're not even allowed to drive in the townships, that we were raised. We were born in the townships, but we are not even allowed to work in the townships. So the taxi drivers, I'm not saying all of them, and I'm not also saying all the associations, because I was raised my father was a business owner and was all in Texas. And I look how I turned out, and I know for sure that not all of them. It's only 1 or 2 rotten potatoes that are running with this thing that we as taxi drivers, this is what we have. I know it's not all of them, but I wish our government can really, really, really take part, and just put law as it is, because there is law. Tell me, why must I be told not to pick up in a mall while the mall was built and developed by someone with hopes that they will, help the town?
But what has the mall done, Tebogo? Has the mall, for instance, even Maponya Mall in this case, have they not clearly defined that taxis can operate here? Because I think I do remember getting calls when we had the National Taxi Alliance that their e-hailing drivers have a spot at Maponya Mall where they can do drop-offs.
It started with you are not allowed to pick up next to the taxi rank, and then it went to you are not even allowed to pick up at all at the mall. You are allowed to drop off. And if you can follow the story of what happened yesterday, I don't have the full context, but it seemed like someone was dropping off. Imagine losing your life for dropping off, Clement. You are not even taking business away. You are just dropping. You are bringing business to them, because we know for sure that we're not allowed to pick up in their malls, right? I'm saying their malls because they are the way they speak and sound. It sounds like they've contributed in buying a single brick to build that mall.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Tebogo. Thank you, Ephraim. You're calling us from Alex. Quickly, good morning.
Clement, good morning. How are you?
Sure, man. Go ahead.
I'm not good, Clement. It's so painful and sad, and condolences to our colleagues. I'm an e-hailing operator since 2017. I'm one of the leadership in Gauteng. Clement, it's so painful, our government. We need to set the record straight. We don't say we hate people, but if MEC of Transport in Gauteng, she don't act on the practice note of 2009, we're not going anywhere. But she is managing it on the side. The Gauteng Metropolis, they're importing e-hailing cars at the OR Tambo International Airport. Why they do that? Because they use the same NLTA that was amended in 2009. But why can't he use that section 66, number 3 on 2009 for her to regulate e-hailing? You understand, Clement? We couldn't be where we are today if she could have listened. She's so arrogant. I don't want to write Clement. She knows me very well. She's so arrogant. You don't want to listen to us. The issue of Maponya is not the first one. The first one, when it happens, they try to organize a committee. I'm one of that in committee. That WhatsApp group is quite like it's dead. There's no one who's talking. I applaud MMC Kenny Kunen, even though he's under other problems. He tried to solve that problem because of he's the MMC. He's down. He can't have more power than the MEC.
Yeah.
So, MMC. They tried their level best, but the powers that are within the MEC, she's not using. She's breaking with that power that she could regulate this e-hailing. We can't just fight with our uncles, our brothers in the meter taxi, in the taxis.
Yeah, there has to be a solution, Ephraim. I hear your frustration there. Thank you so much for sharing that experience with us, and I'm sure, as you are aware, the tensions are high still in Soweto, so this matter will be covered extensively throughout the day here on 702. It's 10 o'clock.
702 delivers
on the matters that matter to you.
Hi 702 land, I'm Balesa from Waterfall. I love 702 because it's an inclusive station. It prioritizes inclusion. It has some of the best award-winning broadcasters in this country, and they walk the talk.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
So we can deliver more on what matters to you.
702 listens.
Let's walk the talk.
Olympians, CEOs, neuroscientists, wellness icons. This isn't another conference. It's a mental revolution. The Mind Matter Summit unites the world's brightest minds in mental well-being. This is the upgrade your life's been waiting for, happening at the Cape Town ICC on the 4th of September. Mind Matters Summit. Change your mind, change your life. Book now at mindmatters-summit.com. Brought to you by Prime Media Cares.
Do not be fooled. Smoking kills. Across the globe, more than 8 million people die of tobacco-related diseases every year. During the broadcast of this radio advert, which is only 60 seconds, 16 people would have died from tobacco. Quit smoking and vaping. If you cannot resist this lethal habit, please protect non-smokers and children. Do not smoke or vape in public places or near children. Inhaling any tobacco product, whether through smoking or vaping, can cause cancer, birth defects, heart, lung, and oral diseases. All tobacco and related products are harmful to your health. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Health.
Dear Journal, trying to be an adult at 3,469. Just had a fantastic 2-hour meeting. It was so productive that we accomplished nearly as much as I could have done with one well-written email.
Hating the corporate 9 to 5? Get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's easy and like 19 Rand a day, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Soweto residents say the murder of an e-hailing driver and the torching of 2 cars near Maponya Mall has sparked safety concerns. The driver was shot last night while another was injured alongside an onlooker who was hit by a stray bullet. Residents say it cannot be business as usual at the mall following last night's attacks. We cross now live to Jabulile Mbata in Soweto. Jabulile, what have you learned about this driver?
So it's understood that the 27-year-old driver joined the e-hailing services recently. His family arrived and they just stopped and shocked by his death. Other family members were sweeping up the last of the remains of the burnt car, packing it in a large plastic bag. Meanwhile, this resident said she is distraught and traumatized by what she saw last night.
I was here. I didn't sleep for the whole night I've been here. Even when they moved these cars, we didn't even see them. We didn't even see how these cars were moved. We only saw how they took out the driver's body. Can you imagine seeing someone like a human being taking out of the car and his body stuck on that steel of the chair burnt to ashes?
The community members are waiting for government officials to arrive. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News, reporting live in Soweto.
Gauteng Transport MEC Kideboni Diale Tlhabela says people are using the long-running feud between the taxi industry and e-hailing drivers to commit crime.
Because what happens on the ground is criminality. This is pure criminals who are masquerading as part of the conflict. How is it a conflict when the other is also providing a different service from what you are providing? The e-hailers are doing door-to-door. The taxi associations are moving from one rank to a particular point.
Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations of police corruption will meet for the second time today to finalise the terms of reference that will guide its investigation. Political parties had until Friday last week to make their recommendations on what should be included in the terms of reference before Parliament starts its investigation allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. The terms of reference will include which witnesses should be called in to testify, and the committee will also decide on who should be the evidence leader. Babalo Ndenza reports.
At its first meeting last week, the ad hoc committee investigating interference and corruption in the criminal justice system elected the ANC's Soviet Lekhanyane as its chairperson. Lekhanyane said the committee has been tasked with investigating the veracity and implications of all the allegations made by Mkhwanazi about organs of state and criminal syndicates operating in the country. Members of the committee also called for their submissions to be considered in the final terms of reference. In its submission, Action SA proposed that the committee consider engaging a forensic investigator to complement the evidence leader's expertise and to assist with the technical complexities anticipated at the inquiry. The EFF is also expected to submit that the investigation must also interview prisoners who might be in a position to share relevant information around criminal syndicates involving the police. Baba Londenza, Eyewitness News.
Trade and Industry Minister Park Stawu has called for collaboration to address multiple challenges facing the automotive sector. Stawu made the calls at a conference hosted by the National Association of Automotive Component and Allied Manufacturers in the Eastern Cape. The punitive US tariffs are the latest speed bump for the sector, threatening to slow growth, which will impact the country's economy. Nogukayam Dambo reports.
Domestic sales of locally produced vehicles plummeted to 500,000 units in 2024, far below the South Africa Automotive Master Plan 2035 target of 700,000 units. More than 60% of vehicles sold here are imports, eroding local production scales. Adding to this, the US tariffs are expected to significantly impact more than 28 billion rands worth of automotive exports. Trade and Industry Minister Park Stawu says these pressures have triggered 12 company closures and over 4,000 job losses in 2 years.
Localization is not merely about policy compliance. It is existential.
He says the National Association of Automotive Component and Allied Manufacturers Partnership with the Tshwane Automotive Special Economic Zone to boost supplier growth and skills is a model to replicate. Nogukanyam Dambo, Eyewitness News.
Gold is trading at $3,356.26 an ounce. The rand is at 17.53 to the dollar, 23.80 to the pound, 20.52 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.95 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we still have got a road closure along Chris Honey Road. This is between Klipspruit Valley Road and the Maponya Mall entrance. This is due to community members calling for the mall to be shut down following the violence yesterday while traveling on the M1 North. We've got delays between Booysen's Road and the Crown Interchange. There's also queuing traffic on the M1 South. This is in the Bramley area between Grayston Drive and Corlett Drive due to roadworks.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs of 24 degrees. The top story in EW in this hour. Soweto residents say the murder of an e-hailing driver and the torching of 2 vehicles near Maponya Mall has sparked safety concerns.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Gauteng's greatest awards with 702 and Yoko. Your vote is not just a click. It's a thank you, a nod, a way of saying we see you. Vote for your favorite local business now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Nine minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702, and thank you for your thoughts, your contributions on the 702 open line. I just want to wrap up that open line with some WhatsApp voice notes, because there's lots that came through and we didn't play much, took lots of calls today. So let's just wrap up that 702 open line with these WhatsApps that came in the previous hour.
Yeah, the situation of Maponya is very bad, very bad. The community needs to take deeper action because it's not only the inhaling people who get affected, and also the community. Because now, even if you can go to Southgate, it's the same result, whereby now there are no Ubers that are allowed on the mall. They have their own taxis, which is unsafe and it's unlawful. There's no registration of the driver that you go with. There's no proof of anything. Anything can happen. So returning back to Maponya, this thing is really, really bad. And unfortunately, we're living in the new generation whereby these services, they are mostly required. And it's not suitable for one party, but for everybody. It's a benefit for everybody, you know. But now, the community has to stand up. The inhaling people has to stand up. The government has to stand up. Enough is enough. Why not?
No, two listeners. Regarding the taxis and the e-hailing situation, it is really out of control. Earlier this year in Marabastad, I was with my brother. So I decided to jump off the car and I'm like, okay, I'm getting into the store, look for parking. And then when I got out of the store, he was still looking for parking. Then I got back into the car. Lo and behold, the taxi guys pounced on him and they grabbed him. So I was screaming, he's my brother, please leave him. They're like, oh, he's your brother, prove it. What's his name? So then they they asked him to open his phone and driver's license, and they asked me to verify what are his names. You know, they'll ask for details like birth dates, show us a picture of yourselves on each other's phones and stuff like that. It's really so bad because I mean, it was a life-threatening situation, and police were around, but these guys are alone to themselves. It's so bad.
Good morning, Clement and 702 Land. Clement, this thing of e-hailing, it's happening everywhere. It's a problem, especially in townships. The mall in townships, it's a big problem. I'm staying here at Sky City, so at Sky City you can't use an Uber, you can't use a Bolt. It's a problem. Those taxi owners, they will take you out, they will take the driver's key of that car, and then they will say they are pounding that car. You need to pay maybe 5,000 or 10,000 before they release the car. So especially in township, it's a very, very big problem in township. It's totally at Sky City.
This is Terence from Alberton. Clement, this thing of e-hailing and these so-called meter taxi drivers, it's a problem. It even happens in Chris Mall. If you go in there with the Uber, the driver is stopped and is asked, are you related to the person or what? It's a problem all over. And it seems to be happening mostly in these malls that are in the townships.
Yeah, this is quite crazy, and I wonder how unsafe a lot of you e-hailing drivers are right now, especially when you see and you read and you hear the news about what happened to one of your colleagues last night. Please be safe out there, but I really think that we need to push the authorities to do something. I mean, we've tried over the years, and that's why I asked earlier, is there appetite, is there political appetite to do something, or are we just, as our government, really just scared of the taxi industry? Like, why are we not sitting down? And it looks like there are resolutions that the different groups get to when they meet, but there's just no implementation whatsoever. It's 14 minutes now after 10 o'clock. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to shift things around on the show today. So normally around this time, we start with our hanging out feature. Today we're hanging out with Dr Malusi Gigaba, but he has been stuck at the airport, but he's almost here. He's on his way. So what I'll do is we're going to start with our Thursday dialogue this hour. And then when we come back at 11 o'clock after the news, we're going to start with our hanging out feature. So the Thursday dialogue will happen this hour, and the hanging out feature will happen in the next hour, just to accommodate Dr. Gigaba to get to our studios. But there were issues at the airport where he had just landed. So 15 minutes now after 10 o'clock. When we return, we're going to start our Thursday dialogue, and today We're talking about this new study by the Maponya Institute for Strategic Reflection, which suggests that the ANC is likely to only retain the majority in 2 provinces after the 2029 general elections. What do you think about that?
Tip your way to glory in the Hollywood Bets Punters Challenge, the free-to-play horse racing game with daily cash giveaways and massive jackpot prizes. Pick all the winners on the race card and you could win 100,000 Rand. Bet 50 Rand or more on your selections using the Bet Slip feature and you could walk away with 1 million Rand. Visit punterschallenge.hollywoodbets.net today and tip your way to the top. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008.
Outsurance is simply the best at ensuring you have a great claims experience. Outsurance has again lowered their number of complaints per 1,000 claims referred to the Ombudsman, and on top of it scored 9.99 on the Hello Peter Trust Index, plus a near 5-star rating on Google Reviews. Isn't it time you switch to the insurer where you always get something out? Visit outsurance.co.za today. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
My family's struggling with snotty noses and phlegmy coughs.
Oh no! Have you tried ACC?
ACC 600 is a convenient 1-a-day effervescent tablet from 14 years of age. Or now also in a no water needed fruity flavored sherbet-like granules that dissolve in your mouth. Ideal for the on-the-go adult. Ask for ACC 600 effervescent or oral powder at your nearest pharmacy to get rid of the snotties and flemmings. And trust, if it doesn't say ACC, it's not ACC.
They opened their doors before sunrise, stayed up late, showed up. Now they've made it to the finals of Gauteng's greatest awards with 702 and Yoko because of you. But they're not done yet. Your vote that could make them Gauteng's greatest. Go to primemediaplus.com now to cast it. Because support isn't just spoken, it's action. And your vote is a standing ovation for the Corner Cafe with the big dreams, the local legend who never gave up, the startup that's changing the game. Gauteng's greatest award with 702, powered by Yoko. Let Yoko Counter fuel your business to greatness. Go to yoko.com to explore the new point of sale solution, saving hundreds of businesses time and money.
The Dialogue with Clement Manyathela.
It's not just another roundtable discussion.
Let's walk the talk on 702.
18 minutes after 10 o'clock. So let's talk about this new study by the Maponya Institute for Strategic Reflection. They are suggesting that the ANC is only going to have majority in 2 provinces after the 2029 general elections. And I think we've been having conversations about the decline of the ANC for so long and the potential or imminent end of the ANC dominance, as some have described it. But it's increasingly clear. It appears like this prophecy about liberation movements on the continent is being fulfilled. And we've seen that with the ANC now at 40%. We've seen what happened in Botswana. I can mention other examples on the continent. But it's becoming clear that liberation movements can't leverage their struggle credentials forever. At some point, that eventually runs out. So is this the time, and this is a question that I wonder if you often reflect on, is this the time when that prophecy comes for the ANC, comes true for the ANC? How much of this decline is due to voter dissatisfaction with governance versus just broader shifts in societal sentiments, the generational change, and also the issue of liberation politics? And do you think that the GNU is actually going to accelerate or slow the pace of that decline? Can the ANC even attempt to intervene and slow or reverse this decline of its dominance? Or is this it? I mean, we're talking about a party here that's dominated South Africa's democratic elections since 1994. Lost its majority for the first time last year. So this new study from the Maponya Institute for Strategic Reflections warns that if the recent patterns persist, the ANC will likely hold majorities in just 2 of the 9 provinces. after the 2029 elections, and these are Limpopo and the Eastern Cape, which really marks a stark departure from the party's previous grip across the country. These findings point to a fundamental transformation in the country's political architecture, moving away from single-party dominance towards a fragmented coalition-driven reality. So let me know your thoughts on 011-883-0702. You can send your WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. Do you think the ANC can still turn things around? Are we seeing the end of the ANC dominance in South African politics? Is this it? Or do you think that there's still hope here? And what is it going to take for the ANC to turn things around? So I recorded a conversation with Professor Susan Booysen, who is the Director of Research at the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection. So let's hear more about the study that they've done. I'm going to come back, take your calls and your WhatsApps. I'll bring in some analysts as well throughout this hour as we reflect on the findings and what that really means for our political architecture. Professor Booysen, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
So this report notes that Limpopo in the Eastern Cape may remain the only ANC majority provinces post the 2029 elections, while Mpumalanga and the Free State are increasingly on the brink of coalition governance. What are the data trends and what are they telling you regarding why Mpumalanga and the Free State?
Clement, there's so much diverse information, research data in this report. The part that we particularly base this observation about provincial coalition governments on is based on a simple percentage monitoring of the elections from 1994 and how the ANC has been doing, because that's crucial to coalitions, because we need coalition governments once the ANC slips below 50% outright of the vote. And we see systematic declines across all provinces since either 2002 or in one or two cases 2009. And if that trend continues, and so far we don't see anything that suggests it will not, then more provinces will become coalition governments in the next election, 2029, provincially. These two provinces currently sit respectively on 51 and 52% of the vote. And so that decline seems imminent. Limpopo and Eastern Cape are the only ones that maintain high percentages, 70% up still, and they seem safe. But that will be a dramatic change if more provinces go. And I believe in the provinces themselves, there is quite a bit of concern among ANC government people in particular about what their futures will look like once they have to be under a national coalition government and their own statuses are uncertain. I believe, for example, Eastern Cape people have also been looking at, interestingly, what the Democratic Alliance, the DA, has been doing in the Western Cape to optimize their provincial powers and talk about this as the sign that is the end of comradely cooperation in the sense of concurrent government as defined in the Constitution, and fathoming that they would have a bit more leeway than what they are exercising out of respect for the national ANC leadership from the provinces at this stage. So it's a new era that's probably dawning for coalition governments, both those that slip into coalitions and those that remain under ANC majority.
Yeah. Are there other specific drivers, though, behind the ANC maintaining its dominance in these particular two provinces, Limpopo and the Eastern Cape?
Of course, the ANC can dramatically start improving governance and start showing that it's effective. And just into our performance base, there's so much of government action that is channeled through provinces. I believe provinces can make a serious difference, but they have up to now largely been just staying in that position of being sandwiched between national and local. But I think there is much more scope for doing things better and differently and creating more of an autonomous profile for themselves, because this is what South African voters are really longing for.
Yeah. How much of this decline is due to voter dissatisfaction with governance versus broader shifts in societal sentiments like your generational change or the end of liberation politics?
I think it has much to do with how government operates and the end of the liberation movement era, which links into the electoral support that the party gets in these provinces. There's been so much delegitimation of opposition politics and promotion. We see it now. Liberation movement, liberation struggle narratives are rife in society, and opposition parties are many times rightly, but often not quite, but delegitimated, and new ones do not get a chance to get off the ground. And then much of the sentiment of discontent with a governing party is not fed into electoral politics. And then we see cases like protest and lawlessness and a weak state that tries to minimize enforcement of law against its own citizens out of fear that it will damage its electoral project. And that to a large extent has become the story of current South Africa and the state of liberation movement politics, that so much lawlessness and just content to consent to citizens that try to do things for themselves. And so organized politics are pushed into the domain of citizen civil mobilization, disregard of the law, and then that in turn has an impact again on how law-abiding citizens and party supporters seeing their political party in government.
Yeah. Can the ANC's current strategies, like let's take the GNU at national level, for instance, does a strategy and move like that, does it slow or somehow accelerate the pace of the party's decline from what you've picked up?
That is difficult to say just in one direction because it's such a complex situation. We know, judged by public opinion polls, that the ANC has actually at one point recovered to a bit over 40% of what reliable opinion polls are telling us. At some stage we're a bit below on another poll. But so generally it has given the ANC more citizen support, even if the ANC organization is very divided on the GNU. But in terms of the electorate out there, the ANC has gained a bit more. Generally, one is inclined to say there's so many calls of crises and looming breakdown in the GNU that it seems logical that it is delaying government, it's slowing things down. We know at local government level it has often slowed things down, but then the other side of the story, both national and local, there's so much inefficiency, so much slowness in government action that it is very hard to say that GNU or any other form of coalition, there are so many variations on coalition government formation, which parties are in it at local level. It's very difficult to say that as such is slowing things down. It can be that there can be more brain power applied to a problem. That we've seen that in some cases. We've seen little green shoots here and there of more accountability and more rapid turnover when corruption is detected. So it works in both directions.
How did you work on your research? I know you looked at some trends before the elections, after the elections as well, but how did you conduct research? So how did you get to the conclusions you've come to now about what the potential for the ANC is after the 2029 elections?
Yes, there is obviously both a very strong, and that's the predominant part of this 500-page plus report that deals with national, provincial, and local government coalitions. And we accumulated a lot of interpretation as well, because it's not just the empiricals. We have to interpret trends and make generalization across it. But we looked at the nationals, all three provincial coalition governments, and just over 70 case studies of local government coalitions as they emerged from 2021. And this edition of the MISTRA Coalitions Barometer is the second edition, 23 to 2025. The first one was for the 2 years, 2021 to 3. So it's a systematic recording of data. We see it as a useful public resource of collated data in the first place. I think that is really the primary use of this barometer, to record this very important period in South African history. And then, of course, when one has to start summarizing, one just say it distills the trends, and those trends we then interpret as well. But it is for anybody to read whether they agree with our interpretations or not. The basic research data is there, collated. One can dig into any other coalition governments that we have in South Africa, and within basically a few pages, 5 to 10 pages, you get a very good overview of what the major trends have been, both in politics and in governance.
Yeah, well, it's been fascinating to look at. Professor Susan Booysen, thank you so much for making time for us. So Professor Susan Booysen is the lead researcher for the MISTRA Coalition Barometer for 2023 to 2025. It's now 10:31. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. We come back and continue this conversation about this study that suggests the ANC is likely to only retain majority in 2 provinces after the 2029 general elections. I've got your WhatsApps, your calls coming through as well. We'll start with that. Swiso, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Soweto residents say the murder of an e-hailing driver and the torching of 2 cars near Maponya Mall have sparked safety concerns. The driver was shot last night while another was injured alongside an onlooker who was hit by a stray bullet. Residents say a long-running feud between the taxi industry and e-hailing drivers has to end. More than R500 million has been set aside to build at least 1,000 permanent homes for KwaZulu-Natal flood victims. Today, Human Settlements MEC Siboniso Duma alongside Premier Thamsanqa Ntuli will conduct an inspection at the site where 1,200 homes are being built in the north of Durban. And the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign coordinators say more must be done to protect journalists working in conflict zones. Activists and journalists held a vigil in Cape Town demanding that more be done to address what it calls the attack on journalists in Gaza. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
While travelling in Pimville, Chris Hani Road remains closed off to traffic. That's between Klipspruit Valley Road and Mukwena Street. This is due to the protest within the Maponya Mall vicinity, so please be on the lookout and try to avoid if you can. And if you need to leave Pimville, please try to find alternative routes at this moment. Travelling in Devland, we've got delays on the Golden Highway. This is between the N1 and Union Avenue. There's also queuing traffic on the Mike 1 North between Watson's Road and the Crown Interchange while travelling towards Bedfordview. Delays along the N12 West. This is between Edenville Road and the R24 merge. If you are traveling in Impala Park, we've got delays on the N12 East. This is just as you approach Atlas Road, and that's due to an accident causing delays coming out of the R21. Traveling in Bramley, we still have got roadworks taking place along the M1 South. They are right near Corlett Drive. Delays as you come out of Grayston Drive. Please be on the lookout there. Be patient on the roads. And if you do come across anything else that we've missed, do remember that we are on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
If we are generating more power than we need, why do we still have load reduction?
But what's happening is that, like any infrastructure, a very sensitive infrastructure like the grid is designed to hold a certain capacity, to keep it simple. Now, when you exceed that capacity, the grid operator locally will have to extricate those people that are attached.
Professor Vali Padiachi.
The Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
Hollywood Bets is bringing you a bounty of prizes with Spina Zonke prize drops.
Gear up to unravel an endless supply of treasures and claim fantastic riches with a chance to win an amazing share of 2.5 million rand in cash and prizes. All you have to do is bet 2 rand or more on selected pragmatic play games on Mondays, Tuesdays and Thursdays between 12:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. Feel the ultimate thrill when you log in for a spin and bet now.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Change arrives kicking and screaming. It's challenging, impatient, confusing. Change is a moment of peace. Change is life-affirming. Change is growth. Change is opportunity. We've always believed it's worth investing in. For over 3 decades, we have been committed to seeking out the best investment opportunities for you, wherever they may be. 91. Investing for a world of change. 91 is an authorized FSP.
Diabetes has become the leading cause of deaths in South Africa. Every hour, at least 3 people die of diabetes in this country. This means that in a year, we lose more than 30,000 people to this dreaded disease. This is a silent pandemic which requires active participation by all of us. You may be asking, what can I do as an individual? Limit intake of foods and drinks high in sugar and be physically active. Eat right for a better life. Foods high in sugar, fat and salt can lead to obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease and certain cancers. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Health.
The Dialogue with Clement Manyathela.
It's not just another roundtable discussion.
Let's walk the talk on 702.
23 minutes before 11 o'clock. We're in the middle of our dialogue where we're discussing this study by the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection, which suggests that the ANC is likely to only retain majority in 2 provinces after the 2029 general elections. And I've said before that we've had conversations for a long time about the decline of the ANC and the potential, or some people describe it as the imminent end of its dominance. And what is increasingly becoming clear is that just as a liberation movement, it looks like the prophecy is coming true. Look at how they performed in the elections last year. And now you've got the study that indicates that their fortunes are not getting any better even after the 2029 elections. And I've been asking you whether you think this is the time when that prophecy around liberation movements comes true for the ANC. How much of this decline is due to just the dissatisfaction with governance, or is it more about just societal sentiments, the generational change, the end of liberation politics? And do you think that the GNU will accelerate or slow the pace of that decline? Let's start with your thoughts on 0727021702, and then I'm going to bring in Professor Dirk Kotzé and Mbhazima Shilowa.
Good morning, Clement. It's Mornay here from Randburg. In terms of the ANC's ability to turn things around, I think it is too late for them. Too many of their initial supporters from 94 have already, I think, passed on, and the young crowd just don't believe them when they make promises and say that they will root out corruption and so forth. I think the younger group is also much more informed to make decisions, and they don't have that loyalty that their mothers and grandparents, mothers and fathers and grandparents would have had whilst they were supporting the ANC right after the beginning of the new regime.
Morning, Clement. Interesting discussion right there. There is someone who said we need to start imagining freedom in South Africa without the ANC. I think it's Advocate Kakane, I'm not sure, but someone said those words, and I think that's where we are at now. And I think the ANC has to blame itself for the decline that we're seeing, because just look at the leaders there in the NEC. A lot of those leaders have been involved in one scandal or the other, have been involved in allegations of corruption here and there. So the ANC has to blame itself for what is happening. I think people have just lost faith in ANC. They are just failing to govern. So it's going to continue losing votes. It's bound to happen. Thank you, Clement.
Hi, Clement. I feel that if the ANC wants to turn things around, they would definitely have to listen to what the people on the ground are saying, listen to the issues that people have, and not only just listen, but basically solve the issues that each community faces: GBV, unemployment, high levels of crime. Lorato from Johannesburg.
So just listen and listen and listen. That's what Lorato says. Let's bring in now Mbhazima Shilowa, who is a political commentator, and Professor Dirk Kotzé, Professor of Political Science at UNISA. I'll start with you, Mr. Shilowa. Good morning. Thank you for joining this conversation. Do you think this is it for the ANC? Because I said earlier that we've been talking about this. I mean, how opinion pieces have been written from 12 years ago already, talking about the implosion of the ANC. And when they were written at the time, there was urgency to it. Not a lot of people were saying, well, this is going to happen in 15 years' time. And the question now is, have we arrived at that moment? How do you assess what's going on now, especially in the context of the study by the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection?
Yeah, I don't know if we have reached that point, especially since this is a study on trends rather than a research on voter intentions. Because I think if it was voter intentions, they would be able to show how they arrive at that notion that says, in Mpumalanga or the Free State or Northwest for that matter, people will suddenly, in a majority or at least, less than 50%, abandon the ANC. My view is that no, obviously the ANC can still claw back from where they are at 40% to more than 50%. Or they can go down even at the national level. It will depend on what they do, what kind of campaign they launch, not what manifesto they put forward, but how they show that the things they have said before, they've been able to. I also distinguish, on this point of the imminent collapse of the ANC. There are people who from 1994, even before the ANC had been in power for a year, had wished that it collapses. They've always wished that some, what they call liberals in the ANC, may team up with others in the DA or others. So the short answer is, I don't know. I am not sure because it is not based on research, but more extrapolation. And a lot will depend on what campaign the ANC is going to. They are not even looking at what may happen in local government next year. They're looking more at what may happen 3-4 years down the line based on extrapolation. So I would worry about it if I'm the ANC, but not too much.
Yeah. Professor Kotzé, what are your thoughts? And Mbhazima Shilowa speaks about the ANC can still claw back, but that is going to be dependent on other things. What do you think it's going to take? And do you think the ANC can intervene and slow or reverse this decline that is often spoken about, the decline in its dominance?
Well, good morning, Clement. I think if one looks at the period since 1994 and the trends, especially the elections, then it gives us a very specific message The ANC started with 62% in 1994, then 1999 it's 66%, and then it reached its highest point ever in 2004 with 69.69, almost 70%. From 2009 onwards, the ANC started with a decline, and it's a very consistent decline. It started to increase the decline towards the end of President Zuma's term as president. Then there was, when President Ramaphosa became the president, and in the 2019 election, he arrested it a little bit. But thereafter, it continued in the same trend. So irrespective of who's the president, the direction is in the same way. That's now at national and provincial level. At local level, the process has been even quicker. And I think we all know about what happened in 2016 with the local government election, where the ANC lost their outright majorities in Tshwane, Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, as well as Nelson Mandela Bay. And that trend has also continued. So in a sense, the local government developments is actually a step or two ahead of the developments at local, at national and provincial level.
Yeah.
But the trend is very consistent. So there's, in my view, there's, irrespective who's the president of the ANC, there is not any way in which this can be turned around. And I think what we've seen with the public opinions, statistics now lately since last year's election, is that it still continues. Ironically, the parties who are part of the government of national unity, specifically the ANC, the Patriotic Alliance and the IFP, have since last year's election actually started to increase their support. But the exception is the ANC. The successes of the government of national unity does not spill over to that of the ANC. And I think that's the biggest headache for the ANC, is that they can't share in some of the steps being taken by the government that is actually quite popular. Look, for example, at the budget, where the issue of VAT became a dividing factor within the government of national unity. Those parties who were against the VAT increased actually their support even more. While at the temporary point, the ANC, the Patriotic Alliance and the IFP who supported the VAT, they lost some support during that time. So these are again clear indications of what plays a role now in the way in which the public look at these political parties. Maybe just a last point for this, in answering your initial question, is I think it has to do with when one look, for example, at Limpopo and KwaZulu-Natal, because that's interesting examples. That's where presidents of the past or the current president's sort of main support base come from, is that once the president, like President Zuma, is not anymore the president of the country, then that province goes into a decline. And we've seen it now with last year's election in a very dramatic way. President Ramaphosa, although he's also very closely aligned with Gauteng, but because of his presidency in the ANC, it is just shot up the support within Limpopo to the highest ever of all the provinces. But it will be interesting to see when the day when he's not anymore ANC president, what will be the situation in Limpopo. The same, in a sense, applied to the Free State. While Ace Magashule was there, the ANC was very strong. With the demise of Magashule in the Free State, it also led to a demise of the ANC in the Free State in general. So it's attached very much to also personalities in those different provinces.
Yeah. Mr. Shilowa, there's, some people believe or think that the ANC needs to start preparing itself and the role that it will play as a coalition partner rather than a sole governing majority, that it's naive to think that we can go back to that full, 60% dominance of the ANC like we've seen in the past. When you say that the ANC can still claw back, do you still think it can somehow get back to the levels of dominance we've seen the party enjoy? And how much of the impact do you think the GNU is to either the slowing or the acceleration of that decline?
all I am saying is that I don't work on the basis that says it's inevitable that the ANC is going to decline. But if you listen to Professor Kotzé, what he basically says is it doesn't matter what the ANC do, whether it governs better or fulfills its promises, it is going to lose an election because no president of the ANC or other people can save it. And I'm not sure that is sustainable. That says, a party in decline. We all say if the ANC want to succeed, it must stop corruption. It must change. It must deliver. We must see job creation and all of those things. So if we say, even if they do those things, nothing is going to change, I'm not sure it's the right thing. But having said that, yes, I mean, I've said myself that, look, if you look at what has happened, because of what the ANC is not doing, the economy is not growing, we are not creating jobs, poverty continues and all of that, it is inevitable that it is going to lose elections. But it's not because people think liberation should go or not go. People ditch them because of corruption and what they don't do. You can go and look at the Indian National Congress. I mean, they were as dominant as the ANC, but they were not ditched because, what liberation movements must change. They became corrupt, they didn't deliver, and all of those things. The GNU, I don't think it will halt the decline because, you can get gains where people say, yes, no, you put in place BILA and all of this other legislation. But I think if you can sort out the jobs crisis, growth in the economy, poverty, that is where the downfall is not going to be, not because it's inevitable.
Yeah. Let's take some calls now on 011-883-0702. Jabu, you're calling from Pretoria. What are your thoughts?
Clement, Mr. Shilowa is being too kind to the ANC. He knows very well that the ANC that he belonged to when he was premier in Gauteng has not regained that strength and perception, and that is why they've been on the decline ever since. And in fact, he left them because they could not self-correct. The ANC is definitely...
Jabu? Yeah, go ahead.
Is actually going to be...
Jabu, we're losing you, man. We've just lost Jabu there. Something wrong there with that line. Banele, you are in 4 ways. Hi.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to all your panelists there.
Sure.
I wanted to raise something with regards to this particular decline that you speak of. If we look at the ANC, my view is that the ANC's decline is based more on personalities. And I'll tell you why I think that. If you look at the splinter parties that have come through from the ANC, with the EFF now sitting at 9%, you've got MK recently, last year's election, sitting at about 15.5%, then the ANC sitting at 40%. The voters haven't really abandoned the ANC in those iterations. And I'm saying to you that depending on what happens at the 2027 leadership conference of the ANC, we might see those particular groupings actually group together. Because you might find that they might find each other, especially if they think that ultimately they'll lose the ultimate power to an opposition party, like, for instance, the DA. So I'm saying let's not discount the fact that it could possibly happen and the ANC could possibly retain power in 2029 under a different iteration, depending on who the leader is in 2027, to be able to make that happen. I think let's not discount that, because if you round up those percentages, they're sitting at round about the same percentages they were sitting in 2009. Maybe not in 2004 at 69%, but they're certainly sitting at about 65 and 6%, if you take the MK into consideration and you take the EFF into consideration and the current ANC right now.
Okay. Banele, in 4 ways, thank you. In fact, let me get Professor Kotzé to weigh in on that. Prof, how much of a factor do you think the upcoming conference will be on whether or not there is this decline comes sooner, or if at all?
Yes, I think the ANC's conference is going to play an important role, but as in terms of the way in which I've tried to explain it in the beginning, I don't think it's going to turn it around. I think this point that has been made just now is a very important one, and that is the ANC started to fragment, starting with COPE in 2008, 2009, thereafter the EFF, now MK, but in between also other parties like the African Independent Congress, like the ATM, and you can name quite a number of that. It actually happened even in COSATU when SAFTU was formed and they split in two. You know, if we look at the Communist Party also, the Communist Party is also, well, not really a very strong player. It wants to go on its own now in next year's election. So what it means is indeed that group that was consolidated, or the masses of voters of 1994 and 1999 and 2004 started to move in different directions. So it's not necessarily that they move over to other parties like either the IFP or the DA or ACDP and others. But that is the realignment of the politics. You know, what we have seen, however, is that at local government level, there's some different dynamics. There's a proliferation of local parties that concentrate on local issues, and not only in metropolitan areas, but especially more in the rural areas, the Karoo and other places. And that also contributed to the demise of the ANC's dominance. And I think what we are seeing is a number of factors for that. Is the idea that the ANC's leadership has become divorced from the general population, and that they are working not anymore in service of the population. They are not anymore public representatives in the real sense, but they have become political careerists, persons who are there very much for their own, as well as the emergence even more of corruption. Now that pushes people away from that, any party. Secondly, is that, you know, if a party is for too long in power, it creates the same dynamics. And that's, for example, the danger of the DA in the Western Cape. Over time, they might experience the same problems as the ANC at the moment. So I think this is one of the issues. Democracy works on the basis of rotation of government. That's inevitable. If that doesn't happen, the system doesn't maintain its healthy characters. And I think these are symptomatic of some of the problems of the ANC, is that, and that is the Indian Congress Party is a good example of it. All the liberation movements in Southern Africa are experiencing to some extent what the ANC is going through. SWAPO already lost Windhoek at some point in time. They're back. The ZANU-PF have lost the main centers in in Zimbabwe. Frelimu, we know about the problems at the last election, as well as the local election. So what we see in South Africa at municipal or local level is, in a sense, being repeated. Also in our neighboring countries, and the only party that's not following that process is the CCM in Tanzania, and countries or systems where this trend is happening. Very often, in order to protect those parties, they become more autocratic. They start to act against opposition parties. Luckily for us, that is not happening, and that is possibly one of the reasons why the ANC cannot turn around or protect itself.
Yeah. Well, Mbhazima Shilowa and Professor Dirk Kotzé, thank you so much to both of you for making time for us. It's a minute now before 11.
Do you know what's hiding behind colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front-of-package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by 30 September.
Choose your health. Choose Clicks with a wide range of self-medication savings, such as the Benylin for flu syrup, 200 milliliters for 103 Rand, Corenza C 20 effervescent tablets for 169 Rand, and Maybelline 30 tablets for 93.99 Rand. Fight the flu with Clicks Wellness, winter wellness remedies to relieve symptoms and boost immunity. Choose your health. Choose Clicks. Feel good. Pay less.
Dear Journal, trying to be an adult, day 3274. Every time I go to a fancy birthday dinner, I'm reminded I'm just 5 fancy birthday dinners away from financial ruin. Note to self, don't make any more born in June friends.
Recently removed from the family payroll? Get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's like 570 Rand a month, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Soweto residents say the murder of an e-hailing driver and the torching of 2 cars near Maponya Mall have sparked safety concerns. The driver was shot last night while another was injured alongside an onlooker who was hit by a stray bullet. Residents say the long-running feud between the taxi industry and e-hailing drivers has to come to an end. Jabuli Limbata has more from Soweto.
It's understood the 27-year-old driver joined the e-hailing services recently. His family has arrived and they're distraught and shocked by his death. Other family members were sweeping up the last remains of the burnt car, packing it in a large plastic bag. Meanwhile, this resident says she is traumatized by what she saw last night.
I was here. I didn't sleep for the whole night I've been here. Even when they moved these cars, we didn't even see them. We didn't even see how these cars were moved. We only saw how they took out the driver's body. Can you imagine seeing someone like a human being taken out of the car and his body stuck on that steel of the chair burnt to ashes?
The community members are waiting for the government officials to arrive. Jabuli Limbata, Eyewitness News, Soweto.
More than R500 million has been set aside to build at least 1,000 permanent homes for KwaZulu-Natal flood victims. Today, Human Settlements MEC Sboniso Duma, alongside Premier Thamsanqa Ntuli, will conduct an inspection of the site where 1,200 homes are expected to be built in the north of Durban. KZN suffered a major blow after floods ripped through several areas in 2022 and again this year. Thousands of people were left homeless and public infrastructure destroyed. The MEC spokesperson, Dabezinhle Sibia.
There are more than 100, to 108 sites that have been cleared to pave way for the construction of the 1,200 houses for the victims of floods. We're looking at about 600 million that will be spent, to ensure that these houses are constructed.
He says the department has earmarked almost 2 billion rand for flood-related projects.
We've managed to save 1.7 billion. That money has been saved. This is the report that the MEC for Transport and Human Settlements, Sboniso Duma, presented before the Portfolio Committee on Human Settlements.
The Electoral Commission says perfecting the political funding arena is still a work in progress, but it won't be drawn on whether the recently raised limits for declaring private donations is sufficient. Addressing the concerns of civil society and political parties in Cape Town yesterday, the Commission said it is for Parliament to grapple with these matters. Lindsay Dentlinker reports.
Newly proposed regulations from Parliament raising the private donation limit to 30 million rand a year and the declaration threshold to 200,000 rand are yet to be promulgated by the President. Responding to concerns that political parties are advising donors to donate in smaller amounts so as to avoid having to declare to the IEC, the Commission says there's nowhere to hide and all funding eventually has to be accounted for in the annual financial statements of parties. The Commission's George Muhlangu says government funding to represented political parties is also strictly monitored.
The law is clear. Section 7 of the Act provides on how these funds can be utilized. That is why the books of the the political parties have to be audited by independent auditors.
He says the Multi-Party Democracy Fund, from which all political parties can benefit, has however not been as successful as the Commission had hoped. Only around 45 million rand has been raised over the past 4 years. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
And South African journalists say more needs to be done to protect their colleagues working in Gaza. Activists and journalists held a vigil in Cape Town, demanding that reporters working in the territory be protected from Israeli attacks. The International Federation of Journalists says 270 reporters have died since the conflict in Gaza started in October 2023. Kaylin Pretorius reports.
Many journalists reporting from Gaza have utilized social media with the aim of reaching more people and bring awareness to what is happening on the ground. During a vigil held yesterday on the steps of South Africa's oldest church, activists and journalists expressed their frustration with the lack of protection for journalists reporting from conflict zones. Last Sunday, 5 journalists were killed in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza. Yusuf Chikta from the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign says more journalists have been killed in Gaza than any World War society has had.
And we're saying that journalism is a protected practice craft, and we need them in order, in terms of our Geneva Conventions and everything else, to be able to conduct their work without fear or favor.
Chikta adds he believes journalists in Gaza are being deliberately targeted to stop them from exposing the truth. Kaylin Pretorius, Eyewitness News.
Gold is trading at $3,356.26 an ounce. The rand is at 17.53 to the dollar, 23.80 to the pound, 20.52 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.95 a barrel.
Traffic remains heavily backed up on the M1 North, right at the double-decker section between the Crown Interchange and Car Street. While travelling in Pimville, please be on the lookout for some delays around the Maponya Mall area, specifically speaking Chris Hani Road, closed after traffic. That's between Klipspruit Valley Road and Mokoena Street. This is due to the protest in the area where community members want to see Maponya Mall being shut down. While travelling in Devlin, we've got delays along the Golden Highway between the N1 and Union Street.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 24 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Soweto residents say the murder of an e-hailing driver and the torching of 2 cars near Maponya Mall have sparked safety concerns.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Show up for the finalist who showed up for you. Gauteng's greatest awards with 702 and Yoko. Vote for your favorite local business now on primediaplus.com.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Eight minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702, and thank you for your comments that are coming through on YouTube as well. Remember, you can watch and listen to the show at the same time. You just go to the 702 YouTube page if you want to listen and watch at the same time. Also, you can post your comments there on YouTube. We often, when we play some WhatsApp voice notes and take some calls, also take your comments that are coming through on the YouTube page. So we mixed things around earlier on. Normally we start with the hanging out feature between 10 and 11 o'clock, and then we do the Thursday dialogue from 11 o'clock. Today we switched them around. We started with the Thursday dialogue in the previous hour, and then we begin now with our hanging out feature.
Hanging out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
And today on our hanging out feature, we've got Dr Malusi Gigaba in studio with us, who is joining us. And remember, you can watch on the 702 YouTube page. If you've got your inputs, you want to join the conversation, please feel free to also call us on 011-883-0702 WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Dr. Gigaba, welcome to the show. How are you?
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you very much. I'm good. Thank you. And thank you for accommodating me on my
little situation at the airport. Yeah, it's okay. Are you now used to being called Dr. Gigaba?
Quite honestly, I'm still getting used to it.
Yeah.
I'm still getting used to it. It sounds nice though.
Yeah, like because there are some doctors who are like, yeah, but don't call me doctor. I still want to be Malusi. With you, what's your position? Like, do you want people to call you Dr. Gigaba? And in a professional setting or even in a personal setting when we're having a bride, do you still want to be Dr. Gigaba? I mean, you've worked hard.
In a professional setting, yes.
Yeah.
In a formal setting.
Not during a bride.
During a bride, no. I mean, I don't expect my children to walk around calling me Dr. Dad.
Yeah.
Or my friends, for that matter. But look, you've worked hard for it. You've earned it. And I understand why people sometimes would insist on being called doctor in any setting.
Yeah. So why did you decide to pursue, academia at that level? Do you have plans to like leave politics at some point and focus on academia, or what was your intention around pursuing this doctorate?
So I obtained my master's degree in 1994, and I wanted already back then to do a PhD, but during those years I struggled a bit with actually finding a topic that I would be interested in. I did try to register with one university around the mid to late 90s here in Johannesburg, but I lost interest in the topic which I had chosen, and I decided to just abdicate and wanted to give myself time to eventually get a topic I would be interested in that I would want to pursue until the end. So it's not that I'm planning to leave politics at another stage. It's just that it's been a dream for me. It's been which was inculcated in me by my parents, and I've wanted to do this, and eventually I did it and thought, now that I have registered, I'm doing this thing. For the sake of my children, I need to complete it.
Yeah. So I've had you on the show before. In fact, I think you were my first guest on this feature back in 2020 when I started doing this show. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You were the first guest that we had on this specific feature. And we spoke a lot about your childhood, growing up in a show.
Yes.
And I want you to just explain to maybe the people who didn't catch that conversation. I mean, you were raised by, was it a priest and a nurse?
A priest and a nurse, yes.
How did that shape who Malusi Gigaba then became as an adult?
It played an important role because both of them, in a way, are public servants. A nurse is a public servant. Mm-hmm. A priest is a public servant, though not for the state, but for the church. And we grew up in an environment that was religious, that was filled with service, where it was implanted in our heads that we've got to serve other people, because both our parents were living examples of servant leadership. And quite often at home, we would have people who were not relatives but living with us. Whether they were young or old, we were still expected to respect them. And we were therefore raised with humility, with respect. And our parents were very keen on education. So if you were to meet my late father, and I introduced you, Dad, this is Clement, he's a friend of mine, the first question he would ask, who are your parents? Where were you raised? Are you religious? And what is your level of educational qualification? If you say to him that, oh no, I did not pursue education, he would be like, why? Explain. But don't you think now you must continue to pursue education? So it was implanted in us. even though they themselves did not have university degrees, but they had academic qualifications, because as a priest he had to go through a clerical college, and my mom had to go through a nursing college. So they understood the value of education, and their parents had sold some of their livestock in order to send my parents and their siblings to school. So it was something that was that important to us.
Were they involved in politics?
No, they were not involved in politics.
So when does the political bug then bite you?
It starts in the 1980s, particularly during the rent and rates boycotts. After the Vala uprisings, they spread over to different townships. I was living in Sibongile Township at the time in Dundee. A very close friend of mine was son to a leading activist in the United Democratic Front and the Residents Association, Umamu Mhlungu. She's late now. And we, in as much as she tried to protect us from getting involved in politics, because it was dangerous. I mean, you faced political violence at the time between the ANC and the IFP, and on the other hand, you had state-sponsored violence in the form of the soldiers, the SANDF, that were roaming around in townships, shooting people randomly. So she tried to protect us from getting involved in politics. Unfortunately, she couldn't succeed because right in 1986, our school got into a school boycott, and it was a prolonged boycott that kept changing form along the year. And how we passed in 1986, even I don't understand. I can't explain.
Because Bentoitoya every day.
Bentoitoya, we were boycotting classes. There was a day when we chased teachers around, particularly protesting at the time against corporal punishment and chasing the soldiers out of our school. Now, here we are in our early teens, without any weapon at hand, but kicking the soldiers out of our school. So it was a dangerous situation, but that's when I started getting involved. But at the time, I was not at the forefront. It's only when I get to university that I develop a really keen interest, not only in being an activist, but also assuming leadership responsibilities. But you'll remember at the time, it wasn't us who decided that now you can be a leader. We were mentored, and they would, the people who were in leadership at the time would identify some among us and begin to propel you so that you realize ultimately that you've got a bit of a skill in leadership.
Yeah. When you think about leadership, do you, and I know when you speak, every time I speak to, ANC people, nobody says, I want to be the president one day. But I think you were one person that a lot of people agreed that this is a potential future president of this country. Is that something that has often come through in your mind? Have you thought about that? Is that something you would do still, you would want to do in the future?
It's a experience is a great teacher. With it comes wisdom.
Yeah.
I've heard ANC leaders referring to a lot of young people as future leaders, future presidents of the country, of the ANC. For me to know that it is more an inspirational remark. It helps you to focus your energies on excelling in leadership, not necessarily that you will end up a leader. I'm sure it was the same in the previous generations as it will be in the next generations. It doesn't live rent-free in my mind that might happen. And to the extent that it happens, it really will not depend on me. It will depend on whether members of the ANC at a given point in time recognize that or decide that they should give me that responsibility, not because I've gone all out to campaign for it, to pay for it in order to buy support. No.
Yeah. I want to ask about, because I'll come back to the issue of leadership in a moment and the future of the ANC. We were having a conversation just now on our Thursday dialogue about this study by the Mapungube Institute for Strategic Reflection, which suggests that the ANC is likely to only somehow retain the majority in the two provinces after the 2029 general elections. And I think that was the two provinces that they had mentioned. There was the province of Limpopo, I think the Eastern Cape, if I'm not missing it. I mean, that's surely not surprising to you as the ANC. And the question I've been asking the listeners is, are we getting to a point where that prophecy of liberation movements somehow getting to a point where they just end, their dominance ends? Is that the time, you think, for the ANC? Because you can't deny the fact that the decline has already begun.
So there is a number of issues. First, about research. Research doesn't tell you, it is not immutable. So it's not that this was like this previously, it will be like this. If there are interventions, you can change the patterns, you can change the outlook, and you may have in the next month or so different survey results that say, look, because of the following reasons, the situation is changing. The ANC is going to increase and retain majority support in most provinces. Or it might come back saying that in actual fact, even in these two provinces, the situation has changed to the west. So research is not immutable. Once you've had research, don't be denialist about what it says, but rather it points you to what interventions you need to make in order to change the situation positively. But secondly, we live in an environment where there have been research before from various angles, and what it has said would have been, at this stage, it reflects the situation now, not for all time going forward.
But the trend has been there for some time.
The trend has been there. The question is, what are we doing, or are we doing enough in order to change that trend so that we actually increase our support in all the provinces, including in Gauteng and in KZN?
Do you think you're doing enough? And is it even possible for the ANC to claw back that support? What is it going to take, and are you doing that?
I think we can claw back. It depends, first and foremost, on what interventions we are making in terms of government programs to significantly improve the lives of the people, to actually inject our society with a new enthusiasm in the same manner we did in 1994 when we spoke of water, of free basic electricity, and spoke of public roads, free housing, now and social grants. The challenge now is that society has moved on, and what the ANC needs to do is to capture the imagination of society at the level at which it is and project into the future. So we must not strive to restore the historical glory of the ANC. We must work towards building a future glory of the ANC as a movement that can unite South Africans. But secondly, we need to intervene at the level of our own renewal, because once we renew the membership, the structures of the ANC according to the needs of our people, because renewal must not be an end in itself and must not be aimed at our own internal dynamics. It must be about what we do to improve the quality of life of our people and how we project ourselves nationally. And you can see the challenges that we are faced with, not only in terms of declining support and the declining numbers of people who are voting, but you can see in the emergence of a lot of tribal and ethnic-based as well as race-based organizations, which means that the character of the ANC as the parliament of the people of South Africa is actually has taken a serious knock, and that's what we need to address moving forward in order to change this situation.
Is that something that gets addressed at the next national dialogue? And what are your views? Because I saw, I think it was on Times Live the other day,
yes,
where you indicated that the dialogue should have been delayed to avoid being another talk shop. What concerns do you have about this national dialogue that's coming up? Because those that are planning around it are saying this is an opportunity for us to have that conversation, that discussion about how do we better the lives of South Africans. But are we ready for it?
I think so. The national dialogue cannot be a one weekend process. It's got to be a process that takes place over time to enable meaningful talks to take place about the future of the country. Secondly, the meeting taking place this weekend must be treated like talks about talks. This is when you are sitting down and saying, we must have a national dialogue. And this should be the agenda of that dialogue. These should be the principles underlying that dialogue. And so how do we get there? How do we start? And how do we address the concerns of those, including the legacy foundations that have withdrawn from the dialogue? I'm not bothered by their withdrawal at this stage because it's in the nature of engagements of this nature. The same thing would have happened during negotiations when you would have organizations sometimes threatening to pull out or actually pulling out, but when they are engaged, they come back, up to the point where in 1996 we got the new democratic constitution.
Yeah.
So what I am arguing is that we must not be dismissive of the views of all entities and institutions. Secondly, the dialogue must not just be citizen-led. It must also take into consideration that there is a democratically elected government in the country, and that government enjoys the legitimacy of the constitution and the majority support of the people of South Africa, even in the form of its composition as a GNU. It still represents the majority of South Africans. So what I'm saying is that we need to move very carefully in how we craft the dialogue, in how we think of it, perceive of its outcomes, and produce outcomes that ordinary South Africans will feel speak to their interests, not the opinions and interests of elite groups in South African society.
Are we not rushing it now currently? Do you think that a lot of preparatory work has been done?
No, preparatory work has not been sufficiently done. And what's happening this weekend is actually a convention that sets the stage for the dialogue. So when the weekend ends, we will not come out of there saying that the dialogue is now finished, because a lot of position papers still have to be developed, including by the African National Congress.
So you still don't have a discussion document as the ANC on this?
Documents are being developed in preparation for the dialogue. What's happening at this stage is to set the stage and bring everybody around the table to determine the principles for the dialogue and actually adopt something like a declaration of intent that's going to say, this is how we're going to conduct this process going forward. How are we going to listen to the views of South Africans? It's going to be a very complex process that will require that the dialogue and whatever structures will be established should travel across provinces, listen to the views of workers, of youth, of women, of rural poor and other stakeholders, so that we have a real social contract, so to say, which is not just a social contract this time between government, labor, and business, but a social contract involving all South Africans about the type of future we want and how we want to go towards that future.
Let me wrap up on just also the current affairs with a question around the SANDF, because you are the chairperson of the Joint Standing Committee on Defense, and I'm sure you've seen the chief of the SANDF being in Iran and making some political statements. The Department of Defense, together with DERCO, have distanced themselves from those comments, and they want him to answer. My understanding is that he returned yesterday from this trip in Iran. As the committee, how concerned are you about these statements that have been made?
Let me first say that the committee hasn't yet met. Because Parliament was on constituency period and will go into recess until the end of the month. So we will meet to engage with those remarks, and hopefully by then the minister, as the executive authority, would have got the type of response we will need to listen to as the committee about the remarks of the Chief of the National Defence Force. I think we all are worried about the tendency to speak out of turn, especially in organizations that have very disciplined organizational structures, and we would like the Minister of Defense to rein in the chiefs of the army in their various responsibilities, so that they never speak out of turn with the opinions of with the official policy of government.
All right, it's 11:30. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation with Dr. Malusi Gigaba as we get to know him better. I see your texts that are coming through on 0727021702. We still haven't even played a single song. So we're going to play some of his favorite songs as well as we reflect on his career in the next 30 minutes. But first, Mbali, what do you have for us? Good morning.
Well, Clement, good morning. A closed meeting is currently underway at the Maponya Mall in Soweto today to get to the bottom of a shooting which left an e-hailing driver dead last night. One person was killed and their vehicle was set alight by 4 gunmen outside the entrance of the mall. Another vehicle which was nearby was shot at and the injured driver managed to flee, but his car was also torched. In the courts, the man accused of allegedly calling hits on 2 popular DJs, Katiso KT Molefe, is back in the Alexandra Magistrates Court today to continue with his bail application. Molefe started his bid for bail in the court last week after he was arrested last month. He was nabbed in connection with the 2022 murder of Upasifuka, popularly known as DJ Sambodi. And the South African Human Rights Commission will be investigating a decision to downscale the dial-a-ride service in Cape Town. It says it has received a few complaints from users who will be impacted. Earlier this month, the city announced changes to the transport service for people living with disabilities. Those are the headlines, this EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, travelling in Pimville, we still have got that road closure along Chris Hani Road. This is between Klipsford Valley Road and Mukwena Street, and that's due to that protest right near the Maponya Mall vicinity. So please be on the lookout and try to avoid. Travelling in Devland, we still have got the delays on the Golden Highway. This is between Union Avenue and the N1, while in Edenville, delays along Edenville Road towards the R24. There's also queuing traffic along the N12 West between Edenville Road and the R24 merge. If you are traveling in Bramley, we've got roadworks that are taking place along the M1 South. They are causing delays between Greyston Drive and Corlett Drive, and in Midrand, some delays along the N1 North. In fact, there's an accident reported there right as you head towards Centurion. It happened near Semerand Avenue and it's causing delays, so please be on the lookout there. Delays as you come out of Olifantsfontein Road. I'm Amo Ramela. Otherwise, Karabujali will have your next traffic update at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
Good news for the cement sector, the construction lumber sector, the steel sector, and possibly the transport sector. There may be others as well. And might we start seeing, as construction ticks upwards, at least some either job stability or hopefully new jobs in those areas of our economy?
It's a benefit not only for the construction sector, but for the entire value chain. So you will see a lot of demand for various supplies that we use in the construction sector.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
The perfect burger is more than food. It's an experience. Juicy patties, fresh buns, crispy fries, and a flavor that hits the spot every time. Your burger joint delivery, that harmony, whether it's a midweek treat or a Friday night ritual, you know the one, where every bite makes you glad you came. Now is your chance to say, I see you. Vote for your favorite Gauteng's greatest burger joint category now at primemediaplus.com. Voting closes on the 27th of August. Make it count, because Gauteng isn't just the hub of business, it's the home of excellence. and excellence deserves your applause. Gauteng's Greatest Awards with 702, powered by Yoko. Let Yoko counterfoil your business to greatness. Go to yoko.com to explore the new point of sale solution, saving hundreds of businesses time and money.
Time. When you're a kid, it moves slower than a sloth trying to get through airport security. There is just so much of it. Skip forward a few years to your 20s. Time is still your friend. It says have some balance. Go party and have fun. Then your 30s hit. And time suddenly steps on the accelerator like it's trying to catch a traffic light before it goes red. 40s. Now time is moving faster than your 10-year-old on a sugar high. 50. You're desperately trying to save as much as you can, but time is moving so fast. And all you can think is, where did all the time go? That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time for some much-deserved you time. Now, isn't that a compelling enough reason to invest? Ellen Gray. Long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
Light the fire this game day with a winning lineup from Checkers. Like Steakhouse Classic man-size rump steak for $149.99 per kilo. Dorsland Vors for $89.99 per kilo. And Steakhouse Classic man-size T-bone for $149.99 per kilo. Light the fires, South Africa, and let Checkers do the rest. Deals valid until this Sunday. Only at Checkers.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
On the next Money Show, Standard Bank's Chief Executive Sim Chabalala will take us through the lender's latest half-year financial results as we make our way through the results season. Then Investment School will be in. Vincent Anthony Raja, CEO and co-founder at Differential Capital, will be your headmaster. He'll share some tips and advice on how to grow and protect your investment portfolio. Also, analysis of all of your top business news of the day.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by ABSA CIB, equipping you with efficient and secure cash management solutions for your business. Your story matters. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Hanging out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
23 minutes before 12 o'clock, we're hanging out with Dr Malusi Gigaba this morning on our Hanging Out feature. You're welcome to give us a call on 011-883-0702, WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. You can post your comments as well on the YouTube page. But before we continue our chat, let's go to one of your favorite songs, Dr. Gigaba, Nhloso Kwela, Unikodima. I've never heard of this artist before.
You can't be from KZN and not love Maskandi.
So it is a Maskandi.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah? So tell me why this particular song is special to you.
Because it talks about, somebody who is praying not only for their own success, but also for collective success of the other people that they live with, that they struggle with, that they hustle with, that they walk with along this journey of life.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's check it out.
Isifiso sami ukuthi siphumelele sonke. Siphumelele sonke nabangani bami. Isifiso sami ukuthi siphumelele sonke. Siphumelele sonke nabangani bami. Ngiyacela uNkulunkulu abaphumelelayo. Ngiyacela ngelami igama libe khona. Cela ungakhohlwa zintwana zami. Siphumelele sonke nabangani bami zamana. Ngiyacela uNkulunkulu abaphumelelayo. izintwana zami siphumelele sonke nabangani bami zamana izintwana zami izintwana zami abakwethu lawo ngokuhle usalimi mbambisela izintwana zami izintwana zami abakwethu lawo ngokuhle usalimi mbambisela izintwana zami izintwana zami abakwethu lawo ngokuhle usalimi mbambisela
Isifiso sami ukuthi siphumelele sonke. Siphumelele sonke nabangani bami. Oh, thank you for the song, Mr. Malusi Gigaba. I love it. Hi, Clement and the listeners.
Kuphuka lapho Melusi, kuphuka lapho. Awusitshela ibongo zangakini wemfethu. Uma usukhuphuka kanje, awu uvela ubone ngempela ukuthi sokonakele manje, sokonakele kwa702. Kuphuka lapho mfoka Gigaba. Awusitshela ibongo zangakini mfowethu. Sikuzwe kahle. Washa!
So this guy is famous, eh? This artist.
No, he is famous. And you know, as I say, on Saturday during the day, I listen to Umaskandi on Ukhozi because it's home music. It takes me home. It reminds me of the hills and valleys of the rivers of my home.
That's fascinating. Ithakazelo?
Well, no, he's not asking for Ithakazelo. He's asking for Ibongo Zami Zomtsizwa.
What's the difference?
Ithakazelo are the clan names.
Yeah.
Ibongo Zomtsizwa, it's the your praise names from among your peers in the context of your village, your community.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have those as well? Everybody has that?
Mawintsizwa, you are expected to, but they derive.
Yeah.
You know, some of these things I don't know them in English. but they derive from the things you do with your
in
friends,
the community, with
in
your
the
friends.
community, engomeni,
Okay.
and so on.
I got you. Okay, cool. I want to go to some other questions here.
I have them. They must ask Ngizwe Mkhulu.
Yeah. Okay. Someone was asking here, what is it that you do for fun?
I watch Orlando Pirates.
Okay.
Yes.
Really?
Nothing could be more fun than that.
And then on days that they're not playing?
On days that they're
Are
not
you
playing,
an Orlando Pirates fan?
Yes, I am an Orlando Pirates fan. But I actually enjoy spending time with my kids, playing with them, with my partner, talking about different things, watching movies and stuff, listening to radio and discussing different things. I'm not. I don't think I am the not funniest but funnest person. So I don't go clubbing. Well, I think I'm old now. I used to go clubbing when I was in my 20s, but not now. So yeah, but it's soccer, it's going out, it's sitting with the kids.
Sitting with the kids. And speaking of the kids, how are you managing the co-parenting? Because you've got children. I mean, how old are the kids now?
One is 14, one is 12.
They're old enough to see and read the news and hear and watch television. How have you protected them from what is in the news, either about you or about you and their mother? How has that co-parenting been?
It's a difficult thing, but because they live with me, I do my best to shield them from all of that. And I've had discussions with their schools about helping me out when they are at school, so that they don't get exposed to this. And we continue, so that we try to continue protecting their dignity and their well-being. And obviously they will need to undergo counseling so that they also get to learn how to cope with this environment. But it's unfortunately a difficult environment where the most important thing is to protect their well-being and their dignity.
Yeah. Would you say that they've been impacted about everything else that's happened? Do they talk about it? Do they have people at school who, I don't know, mention it, someone who makes fun of something?
No. I have asked them.
Yeah.
I have asked them, and they said that no, they have not, that their friends or schoolmates have not mentioned this to them. But I have had discussions with the teaching authorities at the schools.
Yeah, and then earlier on you also spoke about experience being a teacher, and one of the questions that came was around how everything that's happened has shaped you as a leader. There've obviously been a number of publicized incidents, some of them personal, some of them professionals. How do you think that has shaped you as a leader? What has that experience taught you in hindsight when you reflect back?
It's taught me tremendously about the journey of life, because all of it, be it professional or private, it all comes down to how do you carry yourself in public, how do you exercise your responsibilities as a public persona, as a private persona, as a parent and as a partner. So I've learned tremendously, and I have often said, even to young people in parliament, and some of whom are in the government, that don't be afraid to call on us and say, I would like to talk, I'm going through the following experience. Could you advise me based on your own experience? I wouldn't take that as an attack. I think that is a respectful way of engaging and helping to draw on the person's experience in order for you not to repeat the same either the same mistakes or go through the same experiences. It's unlike someone who pretends that they know what they are talking about without ever heard your side of the story, and then they go blurting it out as if they have inside information, or they are informed about the matter.
Yeah. What do you think has been the biggest lesson for you? And is there anything that when you reflect, is there anything that you think you definitely, that is a regret, or definitely that is a lesson that I've taken from those experiences?
I think the biggest lesson is everybody needs to have people they can talk to who have walked the path that they are walking, and seek counsel from them. Because sometimes you meet an experience and you think you're the first person to go through that experience, and yet you are not. And those of us who have gone through those experiences should be able, in an appropriate setting, to share experiences, to give advice in a sober way. Particularly, and it doesn't matter whether you are in the public service or you are in the private sector, because on both ends, the experiences you go through affect you. They can curtail your career, they can propel it, and they can mess up your relationships, not only with partners, but with various other stakeholders, or they can build those relationships. So I think, for me, that's the thing that we all have to do, to mentor one another without expecting any incentive, or because when somebody comes to talk to you in confidence, you need to give them the assurance that I'm not going to go talking about your issues to anybody else. What you have said to me, you've said to me, and it will stay here.
Right, it's 8 minutes before 12. I'm going to come back and wrap up with some of your questions when we come back.
At the heart of global conversations shaping our future, Africa's voice is more important than ever. As proud lead sponsor of the B20, the Standard Bank Group is honored to showcase the continent's growth, partnerships, and potential on the world stage. Because driving Africa's growth isn't just our ambition, it's our purpose. Tune in every Monday from 3 p.m. for the Standard Bank B20 In Brief for key insights and updates around the B20. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Do not be fooled. Smoking kills. Across the globe, more than 8 million people die of tobacco-related diseases every year. During the broadcast of this radio advert, which is only 60 seconds, 16 people would have died from tobacco. Quit smoking and vaping. If you cannot resist this lethal habit, please protect non-smokers and children. Do not smoke or vape in public places or near children. Inhaling any tobacco product, whether through smoking or vaping, can cause cancer, birth defects, heart, lung, and oral diseases. All tobacco and related products are harmful to your health. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Health.
Choose the best. The new Huawei Pura 80 series. The master of photography. A super sensor with precision zoom. Stay sharp from dawn to dusk with a superior 1-inch ultralighting camera and ultralighting macro telephoto lens. The master of color, enhancing every frame with vibrant color and incredible clarity. Tricky lighting? No problem. Take portraits against the light with every face perfectly illuminated. It's more than a phone. It's a professional studio in your pocket. Go beyond with Huawei Pura 80 series.
Hanging out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
All right, 6 minutes before 12 o'clock, I want to wrap up with some of the questions that are coming through. One person says, hi, Clement. Malusi has been in senior positions of the ANC Youth League and the ANC. Among several ANC presidents that he's worked with, can he please expand what he has learned from each of them? In particular, also what he makes of President Cyril Ramaphosa's consultative leadership. So if you can, Dr. Gigaba, just give an experience of each of the presidents that you've worked with. And then there is another question from Tsepo as well, says, hi, Clement. When he talks about things that curtail your reputation, please can you ask him if he regrets I'm ever meeting the Gupta family, because that is part of the reputational damage that came on him? Those are the two questions.
Thank you. From President Mandela, I learned warm, kind-hearted.
Did you work with him as well?
When I first became ANC Youth League president, he was president of the ANC. Yeah. So he was warm, kind-hearted, but very firm. I think one thing you learned from Madiba is that once he took a principled position, he was not afraid to stand up for it.
Okay.
He could reprimand an entire rally and we would all shrink in our seats while he's shouting at us. President Mbeki is visionary. He is a thought leader. He is very firm, not populist, and he will take an unpopular decision and route, regardless of how you think about it. But he is evidence-based. So if you want to engage with him, you've got to know your facts. There were many times as president of the Youth League where he would sit with me and quiz me about ANC Youth League positions and why we took that position in particular. And you needed to be evidence-based.
Okay.
President Zuma is warm and kind-hearted. He suffers no fools, but he also has the biggest heart. He accommodates way too many people, I think, to a fault sometimes, because then people would take advantage of the fact that he would give them an ear and provide him wrong information. But he suffered no fools, even when you have done that, and gave you enough rope to be able to do your work.
Okay.
President Ramaphosa, as I worked with him briefly as deputy president of the country and even more briefly as president of the country, well read also. He reads his memos. I think there isn't anything I'm saying about them that Ma Naledi Pandor hasn't also said, because they are just those types of people. But President Zuma and President Mandela were more people leaders, very popular, and they enjoyed that popularity and made sure that people got to experience them.
All right. And then the question about the reputational damage and regrets.
Look, you when you meet someone, I know Clement today. I don't know what Clement will be like in 10 years' time. It's difficult for me to say that I only regret having met you after I have experienced something wrong you did, not before I do. And I think this is a very important thing for all of us, because President Mandela met them. They came during his presidency. They were part of the international advisory councils on ICT and investments. And so there are many other people who met them even prior to me. I met them while I was in the ANC Youth League before I became a member of government. And how they then got to stick only with me still puzzles me to this day, because besides all the allegations which have been made, one thing has stood out. One, I never did business with them, that I only knew them just like anybody knew them. And, you know, and so I don't understand why they got to stick with me and not with anybody else who came before me. And one of the allegations that was made was that I am the one who naturalized them, when in actual fact they were naturalized before I became minister, long before I even became a member of cabinet.
Or that you went consistently to their homes and somehow they gave you money.
Which is also not true, because nobody has said, here at this stage, I saw you taking the money from them. I actually never took money from them. That's why the people who made these allegations, when they were cross-examined, they admitted at the Zondo Commission that they actually never saw me receiving money or taking it.
Knowing what you know about them now, do you regret?
Knowing what I know now, I regret having met them, just as I think all of us would, once you know that someone you met and did not think they were what you've been told, that they have been what you've learned that they are. So once you know now that these people were like this, then sure, you would regret.
Malusi Gigaba, Dr. Malusi Gigaba, thank you so much for making time for us.
Pleasure. It's been fun.
Brush, stroke, paint, color, protect, and admire. From roof paint to exterior textures and interior silk, Warrior Paints has it all. The product range and stylish colors are amazing. And what's more, Warrior Paints has crushed prices for incredible savings. Enjoy that good old-fashioned personal service you deserve. For price, quality, variety, and service, Warrior Paints is street ahead. Warrior Paints, affordable, lasting, luxury.
Okay, truck 7, that has 0 warning lights. Truck 8, it's just been serviced. I guess we're running like a well-oiled machine. Where would I be without My Way's comprehensive cover for my vans and trucks? Plus, cover for my customers' orders with goods and transit insurance. I guess we'll never know.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. A closed meeting is currently underway at Maponya Mall in Soweto this afternoon to get to the bottom of a shooting which left an e-hailing driver dead last night. One person was killed and their vehicle set alight by 4 gunmen outside the entrance of the mall. Another vehicle which was nearby was shot